I met a Gypsy.
All right. Mike Sleeter is back in the podcast studio. It's been too long, but my favourite bench racing podcast guest. How you been, brother?
Been busy, man. It's been in Australia 18 months or so. And
So it's been 18 months since you did the podcast.
Yeah, so I have no desire. I've had no desire to get back to the States and just loving my journey here in Oz and part of the MXStore crew. Just learning curve is steep, like just traveling. I wouldn't say the country as much as Queensland with the family, and loving it, man. It's good to be back here, though. It's been a while.
Yeah. So literally the last time you did this, you were just like fresh off the plane, had no idea what you were gonna do. Like,
yeah,
just
no job,
the whole
nothing.
deal, and you've been so fucking pinned since you got here.
Yeah, I working with the Intense Cycles crew, like globally as a global ambassador, that was like got me my legs to have a purpose here, and then I get to keep doing that. I just got back from New Zealand last week.
Oh, is that what you went for?
Yeah,
for
some mountain bike stuff with Intense, but my main goal and purpose that I wake up every day for is MXStore as a job. And man, right down the street, right? Like, yeah. we see each other getting morning coffees, but yeah, it's been a really wild ride as they go to a multi-domain business, and me, the head of MX Domain. It wasn't, it's been a journey, but but being part of that company has been really cool to like. Meeting so many people, like the culture, 150 people work there. Yeah. So I'm injected into a whole culture of rad humans. So if I didn't have that, I think my journey in Australia would be a lot different. I know you, I knew your brother, I knew my family, and that was kind of it. Some core moto dudes, but walking into basically 140 potential friends is a big help.
Yeah, no, it's been cool, and yeah, just to go fully in the deep end, and you've definitely done some cool stuff. Like there's been some sick events that you've been a part of, and then some of the content stuff has been pretty sick. You got Records to Checkers season 2 is coming out pretty soon. So yeah, it's been sick. You've been doing heaps of shit over there, but it must have just felt so weird to just like hit the ground running, just full escalate, like the Travelator mode where you're just like, fucking hell.
And people that know me know I wouldn't have it any other way. I tried to essentially have like a 3-month holiday when I got here that lasted 3 days in quarantine. I signed myself up for a job with Intense. So it's been rad. Like I just have so much to see more here in Oz. And then also really my biggest growing as a human being here is how important I felt I was in America. How important and how I thought the world revolved around American motocross, and there was no other good engine builders or chassis guys. Yeah. Like you think you're so big, and there's no other. Not that you don't think anyone else is good, but you wouldn't even acknowledge.
Well, you just think that's the pinnacle. That's all that's going on.
And over here now, I completely feel how narrow-minded I was, and I look at like the media in the States, how narrow-minded they are because they're not seeing the global picture. They're not, and I'm over here. We have to look at the whole globe to get our information and to really ingrain ourselves. So, like, my weakness in the States is being involved with KTM for 15 years in this amazing trajectory with a company. But I felt I was so goddamn important because I was a part of something that was so big. But when you look at it, like Australia and Europe is like, there's just as much going on, if not more. There's twisted developments in here. Everywhere. There's Enzos everywhere. Yeah. But because there's not these big influence by social media, whatever, like, and those guys that are from Enzo's friends with guys down here, like the world gets small quick. But from the most part, the racing in tech side of North America is so narrow-minded and think they're God's gift to the world, and I was just as much a part of that as anyone.
That's interesting to think that, eh? Like, because even for us, I remember being a kid and we were just watching some 04 Great Outdoors then for that video project we're doing, and I was saying to the boys, like, this was my fucking era. 04, watching the Nationals, Carmichael on a 450, Jimmy on a 125, like just looking at America like it was the only place a meaningful motocross thing happened in the world, and it was just like my life goal to live there and be a part of it. And you are right, the world's a massive place.
So check this out. SoCal has been proven now it's not the place to groom the fastest motocrosser in the world.
True, yeah.
If you've been to Cahuilla, Glen Helen, Paula, Lake Elsinore, Paris, the for what was State Fair, the dirt's relatively all the same.
Yeah.
Decomposed granite. It doesn't really rut up that good. It's dry, it's slippery. It's kind of pocket and blows apart. Man, you go to Florida, it's kind of sandy. They find pockets of clay. We live on the Gold Coast of Australia. You have Toowoomba, that's the red clay.
Ruts, yeah.
Red ruts that harden up like concrete. You have Coolum, that's the most sandy track. I've rode Lomel, sorry. You have Coolum 2 hours away, it's pure sand.
Yeah.
You have, QMP, that's kind of topsoily, rad, epic dirt.
Yeah.
If you want to be fast,
You got Conondale.
That's like Loretta, like Unadilla Lorettas.
Yeah.
It's like, like we have more. You see why the Lawrence brothers, like if you're all in and you see why the Todd Waters, when they go to Europe, I get it now. Like the Aussies have, Wonthaggi sand. We actually have different soil. America's like kind of all the same. Like it's not in a negative way.
And it's prepped the same too. I
Very
think that's
much
like a big thing too. There's a real consistency in the prep in America that you're really fast in like a certain kind of prep.
Yeah, so it's cool like being here. Like you can actually ride
Harvey Bay.
Yeah, I got some. Like
That's
I said,
fucking
I've been
sandy.
busy riding some cool places, experiencing new. I've actually learned I'm better in sand than I am in ruts, which is weird coming from California, but it makes sense because Glen Helen moves around.
Yeah,
but like, it's just cool seeing my 11-year-old who loves the moto struggling on one track and then being really good on another track and experiencing these different types of soils. Where you, as we know, the SoCal kid that goes to Loretta's, he sees ruts for the first time.
Yeah.
And he's like the 10th place kid in California becomes 20th at Loretta's because it's different.
Yeah.
Where an Aussie kid that can ride Toowoomba, Coolum, Wonthaggi, Ride Park, all these different terrains, Manji.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we have a different soil here in Oz, and it's like now following journeys of the next group of Aussies, like who's going to find their niche and be the next, Lawrence or the next Reedy or the next Jed Beaton. Like I get it now. I get it why Mitch Evan and Jed Beaton are badasses. Like I was closed-minded. I just thought you had to be in America to be the greatest, and that clearly is
it's changing.
The narrative's changed.
Dude, North Carolina is turning into a spot for riding too.
Man.
That's like sneaky just become the hub of motocross.
I agree, and they have sand, they have clay, like the tracks,
they got heaps of different variety.
They got terrain and variety. So you're seeing SoCal with the cost of living. It's not the place to live anymore. When I grew up, you lived in Temecula. That's where you lived to be fast, and it's not that way anymore. And it's cool.
Yeah.
It brings diversity, equality. Like the world's a small place now.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah. What else has been surprising coming to Oz from the States?
The rules. A lot of rules, man.
There's a lot of fucking rules, huh?
Yeah, I thought it would be like cruisier, like the cruisy culture.
No.
A lot of
the
rules.
The people are cruisy, but fucking rules everywhere.
Rules of like, I'm not a post-entry guy, man. And like, you can't, I'm not a pre-entry guy. I just like to sign up on the day.
Yeah, same.
You can't do it here.
No, you got to be organized.
There's a lot of rules, but I mean, rules are made to be broken, right? No, no, but it's definitely, there's a lot of rules. Like I got my first camera, my first cell phone fine, $1,000 on my phone. Like cameras, no police on the road, just cameras everywhere. So just, if I'm going to take where I live and have a few rules, someone told me it was pretty cool. Like, if you don't want to fine, follow the fucking rules. I'm like, okay, fair enough. Just follow the rules. You don't get speeding fines. So it's just, I think that's honestly the biggest thing is rules. Yeah. Just a lot of rules of like protocol, and there's still the, I kind of love it. It just throws it back as like scrutineering. Like, make sure your bike's still good. Check the box.
The spokes and shit like that.
Like, but it's also like that's the heritage, and like it'll change over time, I think. But just the rules. That's it.
That's so fucking funny. It's so true. Yeah, and are the boys pumped?
My kids are their best versions of themselves in Australia.
Really?
I can't tell you what it is. Noah's my youngest is thriving in soccer. Mason's meeting great friends at the track. Mason's not set out to be the next Loretta Lynn superstar or the next Jed Beaton, but
he's a fucking G.
He's a good kid, and he has great friends, and he's getting to travel the country with dad and mom and his little brother, meeting rad people. So Yeah, they're doing great in school, and they're around their family and uncles and good people. And yeah, they miss their grandma and grandpa back at home, but their grandma and grandpa back at home know that they're doing better here and they're the best versions of themselves. So it's pretty cool.
Fuck, man, like a tangent, I guess, but it's got to be crazy just like moving away from a place that has school shootings, not just to get political, but like you move your kids over here and then there's just like basically a 0% chance of a school shooting, and touch wood.
Yeah.
But like when you see that shit back in America, like I didn't even have kids and I lived there for a long time, and that was always something that was in the back of my head being like, I mean, I know statistically it's a pretty low fucking chance, but it's just like, Jesus, nah, I just don't know if I'd want a kid in school there.
So yeah, this is a political conversation.
We don't have to make it political.
No, but check this out. So my dad grew up in Montana. I had a gun cabinet in my house with guns everywhere. Get a key for the gun case in the gun cabinet. We were just raised not to use guns.
Yeah.
Obviously, most people know my wife's Australian. That's why I'm able to be in this epic country and live. She was at the Route 91 concert.
Dude, I remember that.
And she was next to him and got her head blown off by a gun.
Fuck,
by a guy just so guns and shootings.
I remember she was there.
Yeah, so shootings in our house is like
that's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
Like you said, there's that 1% chance. Well, my wife and her 4 friends.
I fucking remember.
And what came from that was her and her friends held a charity bicycle ride in Cooper Webb, Christian Craig, Paige Craig, Hannah Morris, Ryan Morris, like the whole Moto community as a whole raised $40,000 for the community. That gave back to certain families within like 12 days of the incident. So, yeah, it's like you said, the not having to worry about guns here is rad. Like let's be clear. Like we don't need no one needs to know what I think about guns or not. But like I just love the fact that my kids are going to a safe school. Yeah. And whatever I think about guns you can wonder. I guess.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm like pretty fine with my political views on it. Like, I definitely think if you like just on the one-on-one scenario of like if someone enters your house and they're gonna fucking kill your kids, and this is like the most extreme version, like I would feel like it should be my right to be able to protect my family. You know, I'm sweet with that. But it's just like America is so far gone in the problem that it's like. It's kind of a moot point of like, what do you think about guns? It's like, it kind of doesn't matter. There's fucking 400 million of them there. So like they're there. You've got to kind of figure it out off that.
My old man, like I said, came from Montana. Like, dude, born and bred to hunt, shoot guns, different culture, right? People don't realize in Oz that people in Montana and Texas and had these big ranches actually use guns to protect from animals. And actually get food to store for the winter. So like guns are everywhere, but at the same time, a lot of it comes with politics. We're getting into it. We need to get back, but control. Like in Oz, rules control. Yeah. Like if American culture starts giving up their rights, where does it stop? Yeah. So I think right there, where does that stop? Like. I don't think people should have assault rifles. I personally don't think someone needs an assault rifle, but I think we have the right to bear arms if you follow the right rules.
For sure, yeah.
So there we go. I think we can both agree that.
And even like a fucking like a AR-15 is like not a great tool for defending your house. Like you need a Glock. You need a 9mm.
Go hunting for moose for the winter. Like like I said, I think it comes down to now control and rules and what they've lost scope of why we actually need guns in America. Yeah. And I don't see it changing.
Yeah, no,
I don't think it will change. But like going back to your original question, I'm very happy that.
But that's a real thing. If like I'm sure you thought at some point you had thoughts in your head about like, fuck man, my kids go to school in America, and then you move to a place where it's just not a thing. It's not a thing. That actually must be a weird feeling.
Yeah, even like who would have thought my wife would be shot out like a fish in a fishbowl at a country concert in Las Vegas from top of Mandalay Bay. Like that doesn't happen in Oz. Like we had one shooting that many years ago, and things changed. Like there wasn't a separation in the community to not want change. Yeah. Where like I said, there's too much separation in American culture to want a change. Yeah. So like,
and it's just logistically too big of a problem.
It is.
Yeah. You just can't, like Australia, that example of what we did, you're literally dealing with less than the population of California. So it was just logistically a different kind of topic.
Exactly.
But man, that's fucking gnarly. So I was in New York with a group of guys that owned a bunch of Vegas nightclubs. So we were actually partying in New York in one of their nightclubs as well.
When that happened.
And then it all went down, dude. And I'm like in this fucking club in New York with these dudes freaking the fuck out. And it was like, we had the craziest weekend because they own these. It's like Dream Hotels. Okay. You heard of that group?
Yeah.
So they're like owners in that group and they got hotels all over the world. So we were just like, one epic club one night, Thursday night, Friday night epic club, Saturday night epic club, and I can't remember whether it was Saturday or Sunday that it happened, but then anyway, that we were like literally just the weekend was fucking rolling on, and then that all went down and it was chaos. And like at the very start of it was people thought it was like a terrorist attack. And then one of the boys was just fucked up. And then we get in a cab with this Islamic dude. And then right when it was like this terrorist thing and it was like one of the most hectic nights of my life. I'm just like in the middle of all this shit. Like everyone fucking calm down. Like we don't know what's going on. And then I got on Instagram and I fucking remember seeing that Sarah was there. And I was like, holy fuck. So yeah, and I mean, a ton of people we knew were there.
Yeah, it was.
But it was just gnarly to know people on the ground as it was going on, not like thinking it was a terrorist attack, thinking there was multiple shooters. Like that was a hectic situation.
I can't imagine being anyone on that floor, like not knowing what it's happening. Where is it coming from? What's happening?
And all the sound echoing.
Yeah, like so the woman next to Sarah was kind of annoying older lady there at the front row, and the lady's like, "Oh my god, I'm bleeding," and she was kind of annoying, kind of this older woman. And Sarah's like, "How dare you? Like how dare you say you're bleeding, right?" And then looked like or something, and she looks down, and Sarah pulls her arm back, and then blood just goes all over Sarah, and then just and then she gets shot like in the head, boosh, and then
so she saw that
right next to her.
Whoa!
And then they hit the deck, and and over that time, like one of Sarah's best friends, like gets like basically sacrifices her life for Sarah in case that were to happen, and gets on top of Sarah, and then her name's Leslie, and then there's 4 of the girls together, 5 of the girls, like 5 girlfriends, and like all of we were like a couples group that all hung out. So me and my 2 best friends, Mike and Chad, we're at home none the wiser, and Sarah texts me, and I hear pop 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 pop, and she calls me, and I hear the guns, and she's like, "What are you, like, what is going on?" She's like, "We're getting shot at."
What the fuck?
And we'll hang up the phone and fucking go. You don't have time to process. And I just text her, like, "Your time to shine." Yeah. Like, your time to shine, be strong. Like you gotta go. You gotta man up. Like, I don't know, like full just GI. Yeah. And me and my 2 friends get on the phone, like, you're helpless. Like, you have nothing, and we're just waiting for them to get to the next point. And long story short, they survived, man. They got through it. All her core friends, the poor woman obviously lost her life next to her, and a woman, her best friend, got shot in the neck and later died. She was paralyzed and then died. But yeah, just so many people lost their lives that don't need to lose their lives. Celebrating country music, which is rad. So we're here. Hopefully, knock on wood, that we don't have to deal with this in this country. Yeah, I don't see it happening.
Crazy. Fuck. Anyway, weird tangent, but
yeah, we got off into it. As we do. We're back in it.
Welcome back, mate.
Yeah.
So speaking of nothing related to that at all, you get to ride the Stark Varg.
Fuck yeah, exactly. Things that just blow your mind. Stark Varg. Wow, that was.
So you almost didn't ride it.
Yeah, that was interesting, right? So we were messaging each other like, "Hey, you got invited?" "Yeah, I got invited." And I went for Moto Online, and I didn't know how big of the group was. I thought the group was typical, like, media group. Yeah. And then obviously it was a lot more, which is rad. Yeah. So I was like the 3rd group to come in, I think. So my wife Sarah and I decided to take a little bit of a holiday, and we went to Spain, and then when I landed in Milan for my layover, I got a text from Ben. He's like, "Hey, give me a call when you get settled. I got something to share." This was a text.
Yeah. No news is good news. Yeah.
But they had an issue with one of the bikes, so they called off like my whole segment, and I think one other cruise segment. But I was already, because the travel's so long for us, like 36 hours or something. they were able to keep the American guys that were coming on my journey, like the MXA crew. We were in Florida, we were able to fly back, but I was already in Europe. Man, and that's where the journey for me started really impressive. Like the crew was very up front with information. They didn't hide it. They didn't lie. Like, hey, we had an issue with the bike. We don't know what it is. We want to get to the bottom of this. We never seen this. And then I talked to Sebastian and Tortelli and Hill in the hotel, like trying to get information because I was going to Scotland after that to watch the World Cup of mountain biking downhill. And dude, I was like just thinking of a normal intro.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, all I need is 4 different images and just someone to film me a piece of camera. And I'll help test because they were gonna go testing. I'm like, just give me a bike to do this, and I'll come donate my time to test because I have a schedule to stay on.
Yeah, yeah.
And they basically laid out the framework of what they were gonna do, and I'm like, oh, so
I'm not doing that.
I'm not gonna do that. I need to come back and get the experience that you got.
Yeah.
So I went and did my trip to Scotland, watched the World Cup of downhill in Fort William, which is dope. Like that was next level. Made our trip back down through the UK, came back to Spain and to Barcelona and got to experience something. I'm so glad I didn't just pass on like, too hard basket, because it was hard to get back to Spain.
Yeah.
I just couldn't believe it, man. I couldn't believe the fit and finish of the chassis, because before I rode it, I started just picking apart the chassis and like the componentry, and then they started talking about the linkage, how it's tucked up and the chain adjuster, like the little things that make split clamp standard, like just, and then our experience of getting dressed like down in the clubhouse and then bust up.
So paint the picture for people then that didn't get to go. So like we basically rock up. It's an old golf course which ironically got shut down for noise. Only like it was only open for like a few days. And then so this bus basically takes you from the hotel to this golf course. You get changed in the clubhouse, and then you get changed in the clubhouse. You don't see the bikes, and by the way, you have your own filmer. You have 2 photographers. You have a chassis technician. You have a mechanic, and then you have an engine tech. Yeah, an engineer that like worked on building the bike. Yeah, with you the whole time. Yeah, I'm like, what? Like, and then you basically get dressed. You get back in the van, and you go up like a half a mile to the track, and they get your reaction to see the bike for the first time, and you look at it, and then you're mic'd up. You're mic'd up the whole time as well, and you basically can produce for a guy like yourself. I'm not going to put my experience on your level, but to be able to get all the content and produce because manpower is a lot of your issue. Like there's only 1 or 2, you have 3 or 4 guys on your staff. Yeah. But to have this whole crew and they can put your shot list together. So for me, I'm working with like Swap Moto or a subcontractor photography guy that leads me. Hey, get that shot. Yeah. Hey, do that. All of a sudden, this element, you have full reign to create whatever you want. So it really shows that experience who actually had curation of the content right. Yeah. And mine was very square box. Like, because it was just me by myself. And I didn't think outside the box. I'm like, I need a whip shot. Well, you didn't really know what you were getting into either. I need a whip shot. I need a berm shot. And then I need a piece of camera talking about it. But now that I look at other people's stuff, I'm like, that was rad. They did that. That was cool. They did that. It really highlighted what they want to do is get people's natural feedback. Yeah. And I'm a very traditional moto guy. I've been trained up by Swap, Don Maeda, in a good way. And Alex Gobert's very much the same at Moto Online. But then, your crew is very forward thinking. So you guys took a completely different angle, and it was really cool to see how your content correlated to my content. Yeah. And then to ride the bike, I was like, I've been watching a lot of all the content coming up. People talking about, you only did how many laps, right? Yeah. And at first, if you had told me I'd only ride 20 laps on the electric bike, I'm like, man, that's not going to be enough to know, dude. Like, straight away. Straight away. Like I'm sitting on it. I get on it, and I'm like, hey, can you put this thing, like the training wheels out? Like I was making a joke. Like, can you get electronic training wheels to come out so I learn how to ride this thing right? Yeah. And they detuned it to like go as fast as like a 12-inch Stasic. Like, really? Whoa. I'm like, that's so sick. I didn't get to do that. Yeah, so I was like, they're like have some fun with me, and then they're all right, go out, and right away I was like, I thought I didn't know how to do. You go left and you triple, double, and like I tripled that second lap, gone through, and
I was surprised. You could still hear the engine. Like the engine, the change, instead of like, rap, or you're like, you know, like, you still hear the electric. So yeah, the 2 laps in, take a break, then give feedback. And I didn't mess with, I didn't do the handbrake.
Yeah.
I really wanted to learn like what
it was like for you to ride.
Right.
Yeah.
So I kind of kept it pretty simple, but we changed mapping to change the suspension. Like I added engine brake.
Oh yeah.
Because the fork was like, the balance felt pretty good. Like I didn't know we were going to ride the combustion chamber bikes to compare.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, man, how am I going to know? Like really know? And they're like, hey, we have a gas 450 for you to ride. I'm like, what? Yeah, so after 8 laps, I think we had on the electric bike, they got us on a combustion chamber bike. And I think there was 5 journalists or 5 media sources that were there total, including me on the day. I think 3 of the 5 stalled the combustion chamber bikes
straight away.
One guy stalled.
That happened a bunch to when we were there. Even Seb was testing the Yamaha at the end of the day, and then he fucking stalled it straight away. And we was like, "What are you doing, Cook?"
Yeah. So like I was just laughing at these dudes, but that gave me like I was kind of clicking the bike around the chassis. Changing the tuning of the engine brake and to get the balance right. But I'm like, am I still going in the right direction? Then I got on the gas 450, which that's my daily bike. I still have air fork. It's not everything. Everything's pretty stock, man.
You
It's
got like clamps, a pipe.
Yeah. But for the most part, it's like standard. So I'm like, I don't even have an ECU. So my bike's pretty much production. I love my bike. Like when I get on my bike, I'm like, my bike's sick. And I could barely ride the thing.
Yeah.
I could barely ride it. So like, in 8 laps, how can you go from pretty confident and pretty natural to all of a sudden that foreign that you grew up riding? That blew my mind. Like I was like, but then it helped me with timing. Like some of the jumps, like that timing.
Some of the jumps were hard.
They're blind.
Yeah, you couldn't see shit.
Yep, and like they look similar to the other
I
ones.
almost jumped directly into the hay bales. The first downhill.
Yes.
I was like, fuck.
Yeah. So you did the noise. We didn't go.
Yeah, you can still like hear it.
You can still hear it. Like you still know, but man, I love that they were.
So did the engine brake help with the balance? Sorry, did you add more and then it just put a little bit more on the fork?
20%.
Yeah,
and then it was too much because the motor didn't feel as good. But the fork felt better, so I split the difference.
Yeah.
And it was a game changer for me just with the balance.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't as free. And then I worked on the shock, like a little bit of high speed, but it was pretty close. Like I'm like, this feels pretty good. Then I went to the gas, which I know what it does good and bad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, this thing's better production. Like it's better. Like those doubles at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah.
They had like G out hooks in them.
Yeah.
And I think because that, the Stark Varg has like no centrifugal crank movement.
Yeah.
That it doesn't wallow. I never had the bike go side to side on me.
No, I didn't either.
Not one time. But what was gnarly, if you're a rever like Barsha, you could like MX Unleashed backflip that.
Bro.
Because you go to infinite gear.
You should never like go over the handlebars of a Stark Varg.
No.
Because it was the triple. You know what you said, you go left triple. I went triple. And then like just revved in the air for like legit no reason. Like it was just like a habit. And I went, whoa, and I, like in the air, it felt like fucking mad skills.
Yeah, because you think about it, when we panic rev, third, fourth gear, our wheel speed will only
It'll cap out at
whatever that
X
is.
speed.
No, this is infinite.
That blew my mind, Like that was one of the cool things was I actually didn't really fuck with the bike. It's funny. I've said it before, but the fork, I rode the bike and there was so much going on the first couple of sessions that I did that I was just like trying to take everything in. So I wasn't really changing anything on the bike. I was honestly just like trying to experience it. And I had the handbrake, so there was a bunch of shit. But I was like, I'm feeling it in my hands. And before I went to Europe, I'd been doing jiu-jitsu literally every day for months. So I was fucking fit and my hands were sore and I was like, this is not right. So then we went on the gas, which I was completely fucking dog shit on. and I'd just been riding a gas.
Which is an epic motorcycle.
Yeah, I had Sammy's bike.
You ride KTMs, you know.
Yeah. But I got off that and I was like, okay, the forks are no good on the Varg. And then I said to Seb, I was like, I don't want to be that guy that says the forks aren't working properly, but I honestly don't think the forks are that good because the gas forks felt better, and I know for a fact that those forks aren't better. And then, anyway, it turned out that they had two different, they just fucked it up. So they had like one.
Look at you with the spot on feedback.
Dude. And everyone, the boys are giving me shit too. They're like, shut the fuck up about your suspension. And, but yeah, so then, anyway, once that happened, I've never felt so comfortable on a bike. It was crazy, dude.
So did the harmonic noise, like of everything, when you like land and it goes boosh, because you hear everything, like you hear the plastics resonate.
That's probably the only bit I didn't like, if I'm honest.
Yeah, it gives you a sense of like an old feel.
Yeah.
And I think I'm assuming it'll get better because all the fitment was prototype, like the plastics.
That's it was making a real harsh noise because of the plastics, and the forks as well were just too hard. Like, when you just get that sound.
It gives you the illusion that it's like there's no comfort, and that's where if I didn't have a reference, which, dude, kudos to that crew for giving us a reference piece. The gas was harsher, like on the slap down landings, and I was like, okay, it's just noise correlating to harshness. It's not but that's something they need to improve on, like a detonating, like
I just think that as soon as the plastics, because they were 3D printed,
they were.
Did they tell you that they had like 7 fenders break on the first day? So
I almost flew off the back of it. We're parallel to the double, the long and low double after the triple. Like, you do the triple double down.
Yeah.
Like, if you go back after this, I'll show you. On my Instagram, I put the little video of like the drone, and I jumped with a scrub it, pushed my feet down, and my feet slipped off the back because the thing was so slippery.
Dude, I did the same thing off the single down.
I had a moment, and I almost went off the berm, and you don't see it, and I had the drone follow me, so I'm like, just get your shit together. Like it never happened, but yeah, that was. There's little tweaks that they got to do. Like,
I literally spoke to him about that. I said, you got to make it grippier. It's fucking sick that it's this thin, but I can't hang on to the gun.
Yeah, dude, Skeg Pegs, dude, our boy in Sunny Coast.
Yeah.
I saw like what Levi Kitchen was wearing. Like, honestly, there needs to be something just to hold my feet on.
Yeah, we spoke about, I mentioned it to him on the day about making almost like a rock climbing.
Yeah.
And just mold it into the plastics, and then you have a little spot that you can kind of make some adjustment.
That was rad being involved with the KTM, like, I think it was 17, 18, 19 design. Or even the latest, not 23, but I was designing the plastics with that, and dude, they're
so good, dude.
Because the clay
you can just,
mold,
like, lock back.
the clay molds, like everything we got to do, like they'd come out and hand sand things, and then they'd measure, like. People don't realize the amount of time that goes into those molds. And like Sebastian's like, oh, we can put grip tape. I'm like, no, I'm not a factory rider anymore. I buy my gear from MXStore. Like, I can't just ruin my gear, Like, and
I think it'd be better. Like, I think that I honestly think like stake pegs are sick, but they're too much. They're for desert use. Like, you need something subtle that you can overpower. Yep. Like, you can chew. It's like subtle enough to lock you in, but you can overpower it by choice. And stake pegs, you can't do that. Nope. You're either fucking in or out of it. It's a hockey puck
with a. It's pretty crude,
It's a fucking doorstop.
Yeah, but that was my only, like, my biggest complaint was how slippery the bike was. But the adapting to it was no brainer. It was like a 125 light feel.
Yeah.
It felt as light as a 125. But then the traction of a 450, and man, my biggest worry was where the crew at MX and I were talking about was like how think I'm fast still at times, and I crack it wide open out of a turn on a 450, and then I give it too much throttle, so I'll modulate with the clutch, like triple clutch it to keep the front end down. I'm like, well, what if I want to be a meathead on this thing and I gas it and then it loops out and then I let off and then it shuts down and then I'm doing like a 16-year-old kid through a parking lot learning to drive stick for the first time.
Yeah.
Nah, right? Like the feed of that ECU, the way you can just crack it, and if you have the skill to turn it through a turn, it's like traction control.
Yeah.
You're always in the perfect gear.
Yeah.
You're just always in like those double apex turns, where you like have to shift through the turn.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah,
like,
done.
I look at what that bike's going to do, and it's quite ironic with the way there's so much talk on technique these days with Sexton, the Lawrence brothers, the Tomacs, like, and Kenny. Like, I think Kenny Kenny and Tomac really started, and Jet and Hunter have really.
They've just gone, and Chase.
Yeah,
They've just
Chase.
taken it to like
I'd
a
say
weird
Chase
level.
actually. Chase and Jet are the leaders of like unique riding.
We'll talk about that later, but I've actually got some theories about it too.
Cool, because I think this bike is going to allow. Take Sam Hill, right?
Yeah.
World champion mountain biker.
Rips on a moto.
Okay, but he doesn't know why am I look at why am I still good at 42 on a 125? I know engine.
Yeah.
I know RPM,
yeah.
right? If you take the kid that's 22, that's way faster than me on 4-stroke, he's just used to that bike always being there, no bog.
Yeah. Clutching the fuck out of it.
Sam Hill just, like, as a mountain biker, doesn't know engine as well as a motocrosser. So he's having to modulate a clutch, but he probably has way better bike handling skills than me.
Yeah, balance and everything like that.
So is he going to be able to get on a Varg and not have to worry about RPM, all these other things, and have a handbrake?
Yeah.
Because the technique,
same shit.
The technique can completely be changed. So I'm like really excited of like, I never rode the handbrake, and I'm honestly going to say, when they can set up a dual, like when they go dual split,
they'll be able to easily.
Yep, I would run it. You know, and I just we didn't have enough time on the bikes to retrain my brain.
You won't need it, man. Honestly, you won't need to.
Yeah,
it's like redundant.
Yeah,
there's because I was the first one to do it. I think like 2 or 3 other people did it out of the 50.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a crazy. Like
that's how archaic we are as an industry, man.
Research group. Like if you want to take that research pool, there's 50 guys, so that's 6% of the people wanted to use a handbrake. And it's just like, to me, it was the fucking easiest transition to make. There was 3 laps where I reached with my foot, right? That's it. 3 laps. The rest of the time.
Yeah.
But the thing is I braked with my hand the whole time. So every time I reached for my foot, I still braked with my hand. I didn't lose anything. All I did was this extra thing for 3 laps, and then it went away. And you know, you got the tabletop and the little rollers, and then the right, and then the rollers after that. Dude, the corner speed that I was able to carry after those rollers was one of the nicest feeling turns that I've ever hit. And that turn, when I back-to-backed it on the gas, I'm like,
how jerky,
I'm just like, fuck, cunt, can you ride?
Yeah.
But you get in, like, I was on the balls of my feet, gripping the bike perfectly. I was super balanced. Both my hands were in the exact same position, and I was leaning in with just the perfect modulation of like front and rear brake to like tuck my bike into that rut, and then I just roll. I had so much finesse with the roll speed, and then I just came onto the throttle with my rear still on that little bit and just track through. And every lap, that is like a really hard technical turn that just got made into a piece of piss. And it was all by just finesse.
So you're telling me we'd have more feel with the brake with our hands than a big old clumsy boot?
But you know, the other thing too, so Jed Beaton actually talked about this, like technique-wise. This goes to what you said about it helping facilitate your technique, right? So I come down the jumps, feet on the pegs around the right-hander, hit the single, hit everything feet on the pegs, dude. I might have put my feet off a little bit.
I'm the jump in, sorry. We left off one key thing. There's no shifter.
Oh, yeah, you don't have to do shit.
Yeah, so your feet, like,
just stay in the right spot.
As you're talking, I'm like, so, but you have to still slide your foot. But no, there's not, like, you're in, you set your, like, we
set and
balls.
forget. Yeah.
Yes, because you think now, I'm trying to teach my son this. He's 11. I mean, yeah, on a 65. I'm like, balls of your feet, but you still have to touch the brake.
Yeah,
Balls of your feet, but you have to shift. But get back to your balls of your feet. It's a lot easier said than done.
Yeah.
And as you're saying, I'm like, but we still have our shifter. I'm like, no, we don't. The thing, like, it is a set and forget. It's like, this is where you put your feet. Because, like, as you know, if you're a basketball player, when I coach kids or vets, I'm like, all right, why are we riding the balls of our feet? Stand there and try to jump on your heels. You have all your power comes from your balls. I don't want to get into the Ryan.
No.
But yeah,
please do. The Church of Ryan Hughes, everybody.
Yeah. So it's like it enables you to ride where you should ride.
Yes.
It's very dynamic. Rhino makes it seem very easy to do what he knows and what Jet and Chase are doing.
Yeah.
It's not. We know that's not. That's why there's only very few that can be on their balls of their feet.
Yeah.
You look at my soles, dude, they're freaking worn in the middle.
Yeah.
Where am I going to tell you to ride? On the balls of your feet.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. It's not easy. It's a lot of mental.
It's so much practice. And where do you do what? All right. So how do you get better when you have something you have to practice? Reps.
Yeah.
How many reps do I get to do?
None.
Fuck all.
Well, and that goes back to tracks. Like you pull on a track, it's like pulling onto the M1 or the 91 freeway. You pull on and you go fast.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to get ran over.
Yeah.
That's why training facilities, you actually can do reps. And that's another story. But yeah, man.
But as the average guy, I don't get to do that.
Yep.
So the other thing, right? So then you can start to take technique even further. So you know the new technique that everyone's doing when it comes to like riding on the balls of your feet. So, and I'd heard Jed talk about it, but I just got to do it instinctively because I didn't have anything else to worry about. When you're braking, right? If you're on the balls of your feet and you're braking with your right finger and your left, right? So you're doing this with the handbrake. You can take your feet, be on the balls of your pegs, but now you can drop your heels back and all of that braking pressure, so all of the force that you've got, you're actually wedging your feet and you've got weight that's like keeping you from going forwards. So like now you just literally like lock your feet in. It's like gets rough in there and you've got this whole, like your legs are what's taking all of the braking force, not your arms, because you're not on something stopping yourself from going forward. You literally just drop your heels, all your weight's there, and then you're forcing the weight all the way through the lowest point of the bike that you can contact, which is the pegs. So yeah, even little
I'm
details,
gonna blow your
bro.
mind, dude. You gotta pull up Davey Millsaps through the whoops and Travis
Same
Pastrana.
shit. Yeah, that's
they
what
drop
they
their
done.
heels.
Yeah.
They drop their heels, man. And then where you have like Kenny and James, who are very like light.
Yeah.
They're dropping their heels, but they're doing a little bit next level like Stu shit. But if you look at like any MTF kid, Jordan Smith, Davey, Davalos, dude, they get in there and set and forget. They're just trained monkeys, dude. Like just form and they drop their heels and just leverage and those things. Like, I mean, it's what you need. To your point, it's just hard because not having that break there, and whatnot. It's pretty.
Well, so but then you've actually, it becomes this choice that you've got to make, right? So you're going into this turn, so you've got some whoops that are coming in, like roller kind of whoops, and then you've got a right-hand turn, and then you've got another set of rollers that come out of it. So you've got a choice, like, all right, so I'm going to drop my heels to help me with my braking pressure and drop that weight in, take the load off my arms, like give me the control, put the load. But then at what point do I then upset the apple cart and make a choice to hit my rear brake? Or do I rear brake first and then do I bring it back? But then I also want to trail my rear brake through the rut. So like you've just got to start making these choices. So on the Varg, you actually just don't even have, the choice is already made. Like your feet don't move. You've got no shifter and you've got no rear brake. And then your feet do move, but they move like when you're accelerating, you want to put your toes and then you want to
weight
stop
the outside
the forward.
peg.
Yeah. So like you can, instead of having to work on all these different variables, and the way that I looked at it, because I looked good on that bike for my riding. Like that's peak me. That's essentially like I've never ridden a bike better than that.
It's just going downhill from here on out.
But why? It makes sense, right? There's no clutch. There's no rear brake. There's no gear shifter. I don't have to. Exactly what you said.
Yeah, like
so I reached my talent. That was it.
All those skill sets, those little incremental things that I've learned on so much volume, reps.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like I cannot wait for like these top mountain bike guys to
It'll be scary.
And BMX guys that are now not having to think about engine.
Yeah.
Because I still ride like Reedy with my fingers on the clutch because I'm afraid it might, like I'm trained to have the bike not bog.
Yeah.
Right? I'm trained to have to give it acceleration down things. That's so much repetition. Any photo you still see my finger on the clutch. Yeah. Dude, these new guys, finger on the bar or hands on the bar, no clutch.
That's crazy.
Full commitment because the bike doesn't bog.
Yeah.
The bike has power to come out of a turn. They're not like clutching it like gnarly, and that's where Tomac and Chase share so much similarity as far as technique and new school, new school little, idiosyncrasies, but they ride the motor completely different. Tomac's and Chase is like more like rocks, and so because he's so used to not needing a clutch. Like Tomac came in like a Geico Honda where he needed to accelerate because it wasn't enough for how fast he wanted to go.
Yeah.
So he's...
Well, best example of that this year was Phoenix Supercross. Tomac, literally, I think, you come out of a section, then you had a left-hander that went across the start straight, and then a right-hander that went over the finish line. And he was just by himself. So every time the camera went to him, you could just hear the bike. He's fucking held the thing wide open at the entry of the corner, and literally on the stop. And then just going and just fucking buried this clutch the whole way around. Yep. But even you look at Atlanta, his bike's completely fucked after one. After one moto,
and that's because his body's so strong. He's able to that's his
that's his superpower.
That's exactly right. But the Varg's it's going to change who's better. Like oh, the best are still gonna be the best.
Yeah.
Right. Like you still have bike set up for you. You know, it's going to be very dynamic. And one of the things...
It's going to move in so many ways. And it's even... I think it's just even going to change the sport in so many ways in terms of just like how technique evolves and how people ride different bikes, and then bringing things back to back to a combustion bike. And like there's still...
Combustion's not dead. We know that.
No, and it's not gonna die. Like there's no way it will, especially not in a motorcycle format as well, because like if you look at any endurance stuff, if you want to do a trans moto, if you want to do like they'll get there maybe one day, or there'll be like a way to do it, but like right now, just chill. Like let's just enjoy being given this insane piece of technology that can change so much different shit in the sport.
Yeah, there's so much to it. Like you said, there's opportunity for people that want to ride that can't ride on their own property all around the world. Yeah. Right? Like,
oh man, like Blake Cobbin, a perfect example, you know, like he's got a track in his yard that he just can't really ride.
Yeah. And we have, you know, there's so much opportunity to be able to have, like, think it's Temecula, right? In the wine country, there's still land in wine country, Temecula, that you could ride. Deegan had a track that, I mean, it's Deegan, so he did what he wanted to do. But, like, he could essentially ride 5 days a week, 7 days a week on an electric bike. No one will care. Maintain the dust. But
even think about, like, Stanmore, for example.
Yep.
Gold Coast Motocross Club.
They could ride 7 days a week.
Dude, or how about let's ride at 6:30?
Yep.
Do it like a fucking fit spo class or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Be like, hey, 7 o'clock practice on Vargs, and it's 7 to 9 where like, because they can't start combustion bikes till 9. Fuck, I'm there.
Yeah.
If I can get there and be on track riding at 7 and back at work by 9:30, fucking bang.
So they made a comment. There was someone new. It was at the launch of the Varg intro, and Ben, the PR manager, he's like, yeah, we were talking to these guys, and they were wondering why, from the golf course, why can we only ride at a certain time? Isn't it interesting? Our industry globally, your track's only open from 10 to 3.
Yeah.
Well, golf is open from sunrise
to sunset. Yeah.
So you're telling me I only can ride I want to go be a part of the sport, but I only can ride from 10 to 2.
Yeah.
On Wednesday.
Yeah.
We all think that's okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, because we don't have a choice.
We don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Right. So imagine it opening up to where you can ride, you know, and whenever you damn well want. Right. Yeah. As long as you have dust control, which, you know, we've had, I mean,
dust is easier to deal with
a lot
than
of
sound.
You have a global podcast here, and people don't know much about Motoland, which is formerly Tivoli, that we dealt with.
Yeah.
It's a track that just got closed down again for sound, and you know, the Adam Bailey and his crew put a lot of time, a lot of money into giving us an experience. Whether the dirt's the best in the world or not, they put time in, and this track lasted 3 months and got shut down because of noise.
Yeah.
People lost their jobs.
Yep.
You know, people lost a lot of money, and it wasn't for the fact that the people were bad people that were riding there. It wasn't the fact. It was the fact that it was just noise.
Yeah. And think about the implications of we're trying to make a bigger pie. Like, that's essentially, if you go like, oh, what's the point of Gypsy Tales, like doing the moto stuff? Bigger pie. Let's just make more motocross. More motocross fans. Let's have more motocross gear companies. Let's have more motocross bikes to ride. Let's have more motocross tracks. Let's have more kids in moto. Like, just more. Let's just make the pie fucking way bigger. Every time you have an event like a Motoland closing down or a Reedy Creek closing down, it's like so easy for a kid's parents to be like, look, man, it's just too fucking hard. Like, I'm gonna sell you bikes. I'll get you a mountain bike. You can play soccer, like, and then you lose a kid, and then you lose that kid's kid, and then you lose that kid's kid. You know, we're like, it sounds hyperbolic in a sense to say it, but it's like we're fighting for every fucking member that we've got. It's like we've got Fight Club, like we've got Motocross. It's our own thing, but you're allowed to talk about it, you know. And it's like we want members. Like that's how all of this shit happens. Is that's how you get bigger racing. That's how you get better racing. It's how, blah, blah, blah. Like bigger fucking pie. As soon as you get something that comes along that can make the pie bigger, bro, that's what we need. So,
you nail it. I had a conversation with John Hines, current CEO of KTM, when they launched the 50SX e-bike.
Yeah.
Basically the same bike as the F50SX. And I said, so there's a kind of a chicken and egg to what you're talking about. I'm like, this is cool, but I'm not down with it. I just told him straight up. He's like, well, why is that? And this was at Red Bull Straight Rhythm when they launched it, and Morris's kid was demoing it with another badass young 50 rider, and they're hauling ass on it. I'm like, well, I just bought a 50 gas bike for Mason, and those are way better. Like, technically, the 50 e-bikes, way better than a gas 50 bike.
Oh, really?
Way better.
Yeah.
For every reason we're talking for the
Varg. The same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah.
But he's like, oh, we're going to grow the sport with it. Well, no, you're not, because the sport actually has to evolve also. He's like, we're going to get the parents from Laguna Beach, Newport. Now, I'm going to have people that live in California are going to understand this one.
Yeah.
Say you sell a 50 e-bike to the parent in Laguna Beach at Costa Mesa Three Brothers KTM. The track they're going to go ride is going to be Paris Raceway. What's that mom takes that bike in the back of a Range Rover on a Ballard's bike rack?
Yeah.
And shows up at Paris Raceway and sees the type of people that are there and sees the stray dogs, and she tries to use the restroom and there's shit.
Yeah.
Are we
100%.
Are we gonna retain that customer?
Yeah.
No, our community needs to do better.
Yeah.
And actually now, and I'm gonna retract it. Since I've moved here, someone's taken over Paris Raceway and cleaned it up.
Yeah.
So our sport.
But I mean, that's a sentiment. Like that is a general kind of sentiment that you can that. It's like saying cholo. Like an image of a cholo comes to mind when you say a cholo.
Yeah, so like our sport needs to catch up to the tech.
Yeah.
To involve, to let new customers have a comforting entry into the sport, right? Yeah. And I think that the electric bikes will start. KTM has produced a great piece of equipment to allow a kid to learn at the right tempo. They can have I mean, it's the same experience we had.
Deal. Yeah.
It's identical. Like good traction, good feedback. Like it's that. It's a mini Varg. They've done it. And I think there's going to be a 65. There's going to be an 85.
Is that how you think KTM will do it?
I think they will.
They'll just like go up in the.
I think they will.
It's fucking stupid. They need to make a Varg.
I think they.
How far behind is everybody else? Like.
When you talk about just chain adjusters and you talk about foot peg pins, like in cotter keys, like what Stark has done with the smallest things that we're just used to. That was everyone's pretty okay. Maybe they're not far behind because they've been developing it. Maybe they're not. But imagine the engineers that have been working on something that they thought was really good.
Yeah, well, they had like the Freeride electric.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like.
Mini. It was like a super mini size.
Yeah.
I never rode one. Just like we talked about earlier. I've never rode an Alta. I watched Kiefer and the media guys develop, and Hill develop the Alta, and I never rode it. Never had it. There was demos to ride it. Didn't even care. Cause why would I want to ride an ill handling? Because it had the forks that I didn't want on a KTM that were 4CS. They were tapped out with tech. I didn't want those forks on my bike, so I knew they were going to be crappy on that bike. It was slower than the KTM 150, so that's not fun because it's not going to feel like a 150. It's going to be a vacuum. So, yeah, they have to produce something that's going to be comparable to a Varg. If they don't think they have that, all the millions of dollars in development is just pointless. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I just think they're so far behind, and that's the. I mean, we're making a whole video on it at the moment. That's the genius of. It was the genius of Tesla, and now it's the same genius of Anton and Stark, right? The reason why we all drive Teslas, not because of sustainability. No one gives a fuck. They are so sick. They're the sickest car you could ever drive in the world. It's fucking insane. Have you ever driven one?
I haven't.
Ridiculous. You get in a car. It's the same thing with the Varg. You get in a car again, and then you just go, what a piece of shit. Why the fuck would anybody drive one of these things when you've got one of those things?
Yep.
But the mission of Elon Musk is to have sustainability, to move away from fossil fuels, move into a renewable energy source, right? No one was going to buy a Tesla, and no one did buy the Tesla until they were the best car that you could possibly buy. Now everyone wants a Tesla. Yep. The dude Nathan that I borrowed his, so I borrowed one to shoot that content.
Yep.
And he's a fucking a tow truck driver, and it's his missus' car, and he's got like all these dope. He's had Lambos, and he's had all this shit, and he's like, mate, my wife said she wanted one, and I got her one against my will, and I drove it and went, what the fuck in spaceship's name am I currently sitting in? So that's pretty much what Stark did with their Varg. They just copy and paste. It worked. It worked on Tesla. They changed the way that you drive a car. And now these guys have changed the way that you ride a bike. And everything's better. Like you said, the chain adjuster, the foot pegs, the triple clamps. The seat is like almost as long as the bike itself. Yeah. That was crazy. Just the way that you like you don't like have a big dip because of a fuel tank. It's just like real level, and it makes sitting in the right spot
that much easier,
like easy, you know, like brainless almost. You know?
I just can't believe they kept it so secret,
dude. Me neither. I had no idea.
I asked Sebastian Tortelli. I said, "Hey, how good was the first time you rode it? Like, was it like 40% this good, or was it like really bad and you've had to work?" He's like, "Dude, it was like 80% here." I'm like, "No way." He's like, "Yeah, I was not that far off this." I'm like, "That's even more impressive." Like, you know, they have one of the engineers from KTM there, and you can see a lot of influence, like swing arm design and stuff. But then you can also see like where they like he got to be free, like that engineer got to be free and do what he wanted. And it's gonna be. I can't wait to get the ones here. You know, I think they've got the right people representing them here with Jeff Leask. I mean. Yeah. The guy that made KTM what it is in Australia is now brand manager of Stark Australia. There's dealers everywhere from what I like, not everywhere,
it's
but
the second biggest dealer network in the world.
Yeah,
Australia. It's crazy, eh?
It's wild. So it's gonna be good. I seen the pocket of interest. Like they disclose, you know, to kind of like what they shared with us in the world of what their business is cool. Like we don't, other OEMs don't share with like their plans, what they want to do.
That's another cool thing. You are right.
They gave us like, here's how many people order bikes, and here's what we're thinking, and
here's where from.
And here, unfortunately, we had to up the price, you know, $800 or whatever it was, because demand. We had to scale our manufacturing facility like 100 times because of the interest, and they're just not arrogant. Not that other OEMs are arrogant, but you just don't have. We never thought we'd meet the founders of an OEM again. You know, like you don't know Mr.
That's a big deal, man.
We don't know Mr. Kawasaki. We don't know Mr. Yamaha. I mean, there is, and that's why KTM is so great, because it's a younger.
They were sort of that, but not all the way.
Yeah, and they made a comment to me, and I don't hope Anton doesn't get pissed. I said, "Oh, the 50 SX is cool, the e-bike." He's like, "No, it's not." I'm like, "Yeah, it's pretty cool." He's like, "Nah." He's like, "They just took electric motor, put it in the chassis." I'm like, "Oh, touche." Like he's like, like he's like, they didn't do anything to make it unique in its own. I'm like, yeah, I see where you're coming from, because his brain is it's all or nothing. Yeah. And they had the tech at KTM just to implement that in there, and that's all they did. Yeah. So he doesn't want to do things the norm, and I do think the sky's the limit for new riders, and people that would normally riding. And like you said, I don't have a Tesla, but I don't hate on Teslas because I can appreciate the tech.
Yeah. Oh, dude, you got to drive one. It's fucking
I can
bullshit.
appreciate the tech. So it's gonna be cool, man. I think our industry's in for one hell of a ride. Yeah.
Well, even I was thinking about just how fun it would be to have and go with my dad. My dad ain't riding motocross tracks these days. It's just fucking too hard, you know.
Yep.
But if I can give him a 125 speed Stark Varg with dope suspension and handbrakes that's just like his giant e-bike that he rides, then maybe my dad's coming to QMP on Thursday mornings and doing some laps and not having to fuck with anything.
Not getting whiskey throttle.
Yeah, and just not having just like a big bike with because what am I going to give him? My 350 things are fucking 60 horsepower. Like, you know what I mean? Dude, and then you got all the different shit going on.
And you nailed it. Like when you didn't touch on that is, say, if my wife were to be into riding, which she's not,
for sure, man,
she can ride that at 125 or 110 speed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
tall,
it's still a big bike.
She's not not a monkey on a 110. You know, you're not taking a 110 or a 130 that's a jalopy. So like you have as many bikes as soon as you're big enough to ride a 21-inch, 19-inch rear wheel.
You've got as many bikes as
you got as many bikes as you want as far as power.
Well, think about going and doing a club day and doing like the 125 class.
How are we going to
manage? Yeah,
that's the question I get asked a lot. How are they going to manage? Like, you could.
I think that what they need to do is you have maps that are downloadable from Stark, and then Stark send those maps to like all of the governing bodies. Yep. Like, all right, here's what's it even called in Australia? MA.
Rules.
Fucking hell. MA goes, righto, these are the... Stark sends it to MA, they send it to AMA, they send it to FMF, they go, this is a comparable 450 map. But then you're just like, it's fucking lame, bro. Like, I got this sick bike. Like, that's what, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's within
you're going to get...
It's going to be hard because, like, you look at Star Racing Yamaha, no one can say to them... I mean, you've got bore and stroke, so there's like measurements that they can work within. But are they not cheating? They've got the best bike.
That's where it becomes dicey.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like where it you start limiting knowledge. Like when I was running the KTM Orange Brigade, MX Sports wanted to force KTM because we did a SXS KTM. SXS limited edition 50 and a limited edition 65 and 85.
That was just off its dick.
And it was a pipe silencer. Yeah.
So it's a stock bike that's modded.
Yep. Because we needed to improve market share across those range. So we're like, well, let's put some fucking cool shit on it, make it better than the Kawasaki, because the perception of KTM's mini bikes at the time that they weren't good because there was no winning kids.
Yeah.
So the homologation rule was 150 bikes. All I got to produce is 150. How badass is KTM when in 2011 and 12 and 13 we allocated X amount of units to Ohio.
Yeah.
We had mechanics disassemble the bikes, change it from Maxxis to Dunlops, change from what the market perceived was better, put Racetech billet shocks on the 50, certain conversions in the forks, like custom Nihilo covers on it, like made these bikes
just a race bike. And then Yamaha and Kawai's losing market share at a rapid pace, right? So they're like, this is bullcrap. They're making a production bike in one hand, and then they're making a mod bike, same class. That's not cool. I appreciate their rules. So MX Sports is like, hey, you guys shouldn't be doing that. Like, we can't do that. You're getting rid of the cost of bikes are going up too high because people are bidding for these bikes. Yeah, right.
So you're actually hurting the sport. And then the bikes are getting too fast because they're all modded out and it's dangerous. So we're going to make sure you say, like, it's best interest for you to just stick to the one bike, and we're going to do that. And I remember the current CEO of KTM, John Hines, like I said it earlier, one thing that always stuck with me as a big learning minute for me. He goes, Tim Cotter, Kerry Joe, like, MX Sports royalty. Hey, thank you for the feedback, but if you think the bikes are too expensive, that's your opinion, but the market bears the cost.
Yeah.
If we had bikes for sale still, then you could argue that they're too expensive, but we're back ordered. Like,
yeah.
The market
something's only worth what someone else will pay.
Yep, the market bears the technology, and then but Yamaha was off the back. They didn't have a new 85 coming. They're, Kawasaki's just getting blown out on the 65. So you look at the line now, it's all orange, white, or red. Gas. It's all Austrian 85s.
Yeah.
It's all Austrian. No, Yamaha's done a good job with their 65, but
But that was in response to it all being 65 KTM.
Yeah. So like KTM was quick and nimble enough in the North America to build these secondary bikes, but no one knew they were like that. We already had Husky coming.
Yeah,
Husky was going to be the stock bike, and then KTM was going to be the mod bike. So we were just kind of testing the model, you know, because Husky we've already at that time KTM had already purchased Husky, so
that was all just working in the background.
Yeah, so we were like, you have the KTM SXS and the KTM SX. The SXS was like the Loretta's bike.
Yeah.
And parents, some kids got DQ'd unfortunately because they tried to turn their SX into an SXS, but there was a certain VIN number series.
Fuck, that's hectic, dude.
So
that's a lot for a 65. It's a lot of stress.
That is like a parent's like, oh, we got to have that. And the reality was like the FMF pipe didn't make it that much better. It was just the perception that the kid had a faster bike. Like, think if you're on the line on your dad and your kid has a 65 SX and it's stalker. Yeah. Then the kid next to him's got like this works looking 65. Like, my kid ain't gonna beat that because that dad has more money. Yeah. So I can appreciate what Sports was saying and Yamaha was complaining about, but the reality was just a marketing move.
Yeah.
It wasn't
and the thing is, like, me and Anton talked about it on the podcast as well. There is space in the motocross world for like a $30,000 bike. I want it.
Dude,
Give it to me.
There's $22,000 S-Workses in Australia.
That's exactly fucking right, bro. There's doctors that, and like Derby, just because of the whole Derby thing with Glenn, like we get so much information about that whole world now. You go to Derby in Tassie, which is for people that don't know, just epic mountain bike trails.
It's the Whistler of South Pacific.
Yeah. And so there's doctors, accountants, lawyers, all these fucking rich dudes that they were buying cycle bikes and they were doing the cafe racer thing with their fucking $25,000 S-Work Specialized. But now they swing their dick around by buying a $25,000 Turbo Levo with there's people out there. It's like, let's not. This is what I love about Anton. It's like, let's not just constantly have a race to the bottom. Who can make the cheapest bike? Who can make the cheapest this? Who can make the cheapest? We don't need to play that game. Like
KTM changed the game with that.
Yeah.
The ready to race model.
Yeah. But there's room to go even harder.
I agree. Like the market bears the price.
Yeah.
So they're not sold out, but they're done taking orders on Vargs.
Yeah.
Done.
Oh, really?
I think they're done at this particular time. Like,
it's hectic.
Yeah, so the market has put them at capacity. Don't quote me on that, but I from my understanding, they're not looking for sales. Yeah. Like,
they're good.
They're good. Well, I think if you're trying to find a factory edition KTM or a factory edition Honda, you're not going to find one. Yeah. So the market's bared the price. Yeah. Bicycles is the perfect example. Like $22,000 for a Specialized Levo. Yeah. Like that's or 24 in New Zealand.
Yeah. People are buying it. And they're
back ordered.
A lot of people buying it. It's not like they're selling 2 or 3 of them. And then you just start attracting a different level of
professionalism.
Fan and a different level of participant into the sport. And I mean, call it what you will, but it's like there's definitely a reason to have like cheap options. If there was no cheap mountain bikes and there was only $25,000 mountain bikes, that's a problem, right? But there's no real pain of like building it, it's like build it and they will come. So this whole concept of, keeping this at a certain price, like there's people complaining about the price of Vargs. Like, well, fuck, don't buy one. This isn't for you. Like, you either got the money or you don't. Like, I'm not buying a Varg personally because I don't have $16,000.
It's my second bike.
But there's plenty of motherfuckers that do.
MXStore is a big machine. They're buying 2.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not buying one because it's not right.
They're expensive. I'm
not buying one because I have another baby on the way.
yeah. But again, there's 10,000 plus fucking orders, so there are people that do have that money.
I guess you could even going back to bicycles. I get to represent an amazing brand in Intent Cycles. There's a Fro. I have one of their badass Sniper Fros. It's $14,000 US. Australian. Yeah. I bought one of those because I had to have it because it's like tie bolts. It's called the Fro, for racing only. Yeah. It's no motor. It's an XC bike. There's no motor on it.
It's an acoustic.
Yep, it's an acoustic. But then there's a Sniper Pro, and then there's a Sniper Expert, and there's a frame.
Yeah.
There's 4 different ways to get into that bike.
Yeah.
You don't have to just spend 15 grand, like my dumb ass. You can get different levels. So like there is room to play. Like I feel the Varg, people, what's going to happen when guys take that motor and go, I can do a better chassis. Just take the power plant, put it in the chassis. It's gonna see. We're gonna see change. We're gonna see Ducati level. You know,
that's what I want.
Yeah,
give it to me.
Ducati.
Like I got the new MX Tech forks.
Yep.
And they're just like fucking porn, bro. It's just straight up porn. And then I opened up. I was putting some shit away in the shed. I didn't even notice that they sent me all tie bolts. So like all my triple clamps, all my axle nuts, and then all my plastic bolts. And then my 2 shock bolts, a full tie.
That's
Never
rad.
had tie bolt on my bike in my life. And I'm just like looking at it, being like, I can get used to this.
That's pretty.
Because I love my fucking bikes. You know? It's like, what you said about that Ducati thing, it's like, I want that.
Yeah.
I want to start building those bikes. Like give me the best of every, like let's make fucking art out of this shit. You know, like why do we all get bogged down in the weeds of like, oh, fucking expensive, oh, it's laptop. It's like, can we just not enjoy this shit?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Like we were talking a little bit up at Conondale about your MX Tech stuff, and I don't have that much experience with them, and I didn't even know they're out of the States. And at 49 mil, super interesting to me because that's the outer diameter of the fork we're talking about, because KTM is 48.
Yeah.
The factory bikes run 52s.
Yeah. Do they still run 52s?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, you know, you can.
They're gnarly.
Yeah, but they're alloy bottoms.
Okay.
So they're actually 2 of their forks weigh 1 as much as your 49.
Yeah, right.
It's a weight thing, and then I think there's political reasons why they still run them, but like I think they.
Have you ever rode with them?
Yeah, I've had factory bikes with them.
Yeah.
I don't like them; they're too rigid.
Yeah, that's what I hear from everybody, because JDR had a bunch of them.
Yeah, and they had a bunch left because, you know, if you have a choice, I think
a lot of guys run just the normal 48 cone valves.
Yep, and like Kenny, when Roxon was on KTM, he convinced them to let him run 48s.
Yeah.
Because he had the horsepower of winning and power. But like I don't think it's not an option on those.
So what do you reckon? Why are they married to 52s?
I don't know exactly. I think it's tech. They have millions of dollars in technology invested in the project, and it's justifying people's jobs. So like you get rid of a product, you have to get rid of a whole department. You know, and then there's some sense of, you know, having a big dick when you have
those forks.
So I had a friend named Rob Vaughn from Huntington Beach that wanted to have Ducati treatment. So he'd buy a KTM, create a factory bike. Donnie Emler's best friend.
Yeah, sick.
And dude, he's a legend, right? And he's like, I fucking want 52s. I'm like, dude, they're not really available. He found 52s, got them on his bike. My friend Brian Davis found a set. They had Red Bull. They built Red Bull KTM 450s. They hated their bikes. Yeah,
just too hard.
Too firm, rigid. I had them try a production bike. They're like, fuck, this thing's so much better than ours. I'm like, I told you, but your bike is cool.
Yeah, it's dope.
But like they're meant for the Cooper Webbs, the Plessingers, the guys that are smashing shit. They run for solid bar mounts. I run the comfy PDHS KTM Power Parts mounts. Same. I want them to flex. They don't run those because there's a chance of failure because there's little pieces in there. They crash in a turn and those things break. The DNF, like Roger's like, nah, we ain't DNF in a race for a $120 bar mount. We'll run billet freaking bar mounts.
Let's weld the fuckers.
Yeah. So like I get it from a racing standpoint, but 52 is 48s. I would go 48s, but I can't wait to try your bike with 49s.
Yeah, so I reckon we should, because so now I've got the Husky has the 48s with the inserts.
Yep.
So they're called a blackjack insert. And then I have the 49s, which have the internals, but in the new 49 mil like the outers, and then it's all got SKF seals through the whole thing, and then it's got a CNC machined the fork lugs on the bottom, and then it's with the Luxon clamps which you saw on the thing. Yeah. So I haven't even ridden it yet because I fucking hurt my wrist. So I still haven't ridden the bike. But Matty really liked it, but he had big dramas with the auto clutch. He's just not a. I
told you, I'm not an auto clutch guy. But like I could put that aside for the feeling on the chassis. But I can appreciate it. Like I get the tech. It's just not for me. Yeah.
Well, my ultimate goal has been to try and set it up like a Varg, but it's been hard to get it dialed.
You're that hooked.
Well, I want to do it for a project, it makes that much sense to me. The thing with the 350 is you still got to change gears, so you don't have it all the way. But I actually wanted to say it before, but that was the biggest thing that I found when I rode the Varg is I'll just basically said in my head instantly, you use the clutch too much. Like I was like, that's not a clutch, that's a crutch. And I noticed that. On the Varg, dude, my chin was hitting the fucking bar pad the whole time I was riding the bike because I had to be every time.
Yeah, because you would.
There's no clutch, so that's what I figured out is I just fucking come out of a turn, sit up straight in the middle of the bike, and then hold it on and go. So every time the front starts coming up, I'm hitting the clutch.
Yep.
And then on the Varg, like you have to land and. Actually, that's one thing I was going to ask you. When you were landing, were you holding the thing wide open to land?
Not like I was getting it to. Yes, I was on the throttle landing. Yeah,
because that made the biggest difference to that feeling you were talking about. That real dead feeling is like just hold the fucking thing wide open, and it took a lot of it away.
Yeah, when you landed off the gas, it's like goosh, like it sounded like the house was falling down.
yeah. But I noticed, and even in the footage, I'm like really. That's one thing. If you look at Sexton and those boys, their back is basically parallel to the seat, right?
Yep.
So that's like their default position. And when I ride, I'm like this. So it's just like literally, you can go fucking full golf and swing analysis on technique.
Right?
You know what I mean? Like with angles and different things like that. But as soon as I saw that footage of me riding the Stark, I had that flatter back because I'm off the clutch, which is what Sexton and those guys are doing. They're off the clutch, and then when they're on the throttle, all of the modulation of the front wheel and the power is done with their head being over the bar pad. So I've literally was finding myself like headbutting my fucking chin.
Because you didn't have your crutch.
Because I didn't have the clutch, right? Fly across the fucking world to Manji, first practice on a gas 450. And I was just like, cunt, you are so shit at motocross. Like, how are you this fucking shit?
Oh, dude, that's so good.
But it was just all way too much clutch.
Interesting, right?
So that's why I wanted to build the 350 with the auto clutch.
Yeah,
because I would really love to practice using the bike more like a Varg in the sense with no clutch.
Dude, I think it's awesome. Like, I totally agree with you. I think I tried slippers way back in the day, which is essentially the first gen of the auto clutch.
Yeah.
And just the pulsating in my finger, I was out.
Yeah.
I was out.
Yeah,
I was like,
I'm
out. But dude, I love there's tech that we can do things to our own stuff. Yeah. That's so rad. Yeah, well,
and that's not really. I mean, I might be weird in that sense that I just love fucking with my bikes. I don't. Maybe that's as fun to me as riding them.
That's part of it.
Some people don't like it. You know, some people it's kind of like not their deal. But yeah. Anyway, I'd love to get you. It'd be cool for you to ride those bikes back to back.
Yeah.
And see
both 350s.
Well, the 125 has the 125.
Yeah, and I'll bring my 125 with this. My 125, it's badass looking. But it's got stock suspension.
Oh, so it's just fully stock.
Yeah, because I'm like, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Like I have the fathead cylinder head, and I run in good jetting and race fuel and a pipe and silencer. So my it's tuned good, like it's tuned, but the chassis is still stock. I got P3 carbon, so I'd love to put my bike with you up against your 125. I bet you would be. I might almost don't want them to dump a bunch of money in suspension work for my 125.
Yeah, well, that suspension is fucking pretty sick.
That's
like
rad.
I've really enjoyed riding.
That's rad.
And I can just tell there's like little differences. I'm all for if you've got the money. I actually get asked this a lot from people that they're like, is it worth the money? Yes.
Well,
if you have the money.
Yes.
If you don't have the money, it's not worth the money.
No.
There's like so much shit that I want to buy a Tesla. Is it worth the money? Yes. Do I have the money? No. That's my fucking decision.
Yeah.
Good suspension? Do I have the money? Yes. Should I spend the money? Sure.
Yeah,
Why
right.
fucking not?
5,500 is a lot different than 95,000.
But that should be your litmus test of should I buy good suspension?
Yeah.
Can you afford it? If you can, fucking oath. To me, it makes me ride better. Is my laptop like how much better? Well, it sort of doesn't matter because I ain't winning much anyway. But what I do feel is safety, and I feel confident.
That's
and
interesting.
I feel that because there's a lot of times on, especially the stock air forks and the KTM. I never really liked it. Griff, you said the same thing, eh? When you come into ruts on the stock air forks, you just feel like you got no feeling in the front wheel. Yeah, that's I just can't feel the fucking bike.
And both my gas gaskets are stock air fork.
But like, you obviously know they've got a feeling.
But like, if you were to tell me, is the 48 cone valve better? I'm like, yeah, it's
100%.
It's better. But that air fork doesn't hold me back because I know what it doesn't do. I know what it doesn't do. But like, I'm just okay with what it doesn't do. But like, I'm not telling you don't spend the money. Like, I've never interpreted it the way you said it. But like, I'm not gonna say don't go spend the money on the WP conversion kit. I have one. I just got to put it in. I've been too lazy to put it in because I'm like, do I put it in my 125? Do I put it in my 450? And
450 probably.
Yeah, exactly right. But I'm like, I just know what my bike's gonna do or not do.
Yeah. Whereas I feel like I don't.
Yeah.
Or like there's places. So like a good example, right? QMP. You got the.
Natural terrain.
Yeah,
it's off camber, dude. My bike does not work that good.
So there's that left-hander where you come down, right-hander where you come down the hill. That is all right. You can get away with that one. So there's what I just hate the feeling of on the stock air fork is when you go down that next straightaway and then you got the single and then you land and you kind of like landing, turning, and then going into that next like flat left-hander. There's just nothing to lean on. It's like I'm deaf and blind when it comes to feeling my front end.
It's you've nailed it. Like that track is tough. It feels like you don't have a good tire.
What's that?
It feels like you don't have a good tire. Yeah, because that fork's linear. It doesn't have any like when you grab the brake, it's either on or off. It doesn't have like a it doesn't come back at you.
Yeah.
Where like the conversion, the air, it's like it's pushing against your fork. So like you have pressing and then it goes.
Yeah, that's the feeling.
That's the feeling.
Yeah.
Like that's the feeling. So like I know
it's like it's there and then it's nothing's there.
Exactly, because you get to that hard point and it goes. We're like,
and that makes as a vet rider, like as a guy that's not that good at motocross that rides once a week. That's how I did my AC joint. Was just that front end going.
Dude.
All my crashes in 2020 were just front. Nothing crashes, just front ends going where because you just can't feel it.
It's all feel like
and the levels that as you get. So I think the argument with like A-kit suspension. Sorry, I'm fucking hijacking this.
You're fine.
The argument with like buying good suspension is that it's like, well, you're not fast enough to have it. It's
That's
like
wrong.
the good guys have it. I would argue that the good guys can actually do better with stock suspension.
Absolutely, because
they've just got
you can manipulate around it.
Yeah, and you've got so much more skill. You've got so much more awareness,
100%.
and you've got so much more like you've got data. Like the amount of riding that you've done in your life, the amount of your personal riding hour meter compared to mine would be fucking so far out of this world. We don't even do the same thing. So like I'm the guy that should get the best suspension. You know what I mean?
Don Maeda, mentor of mine. Look at him. Dude, his brother's Ross Maeda from Enzo. Yeah. Don doesn't ride a bike with that Kashima coated A-kits because he knows if he makes a mistake,
it's got his back.
It's got his back.
Yeah.
We're like a production bike. There's a limit.
Yeah.
And it's not for the bikes. People are like, oh, stiff. Well, the stiffer you go, the safer it is. Then there's that balance of comfort and traction, right?
Yeah.
But my older brother, who has paralysis from a BMX crash of all things, he loved always my Supercross suspension because he was very weak on his one side. So if the bike started wallowing, he would almost die or crash because he couldn't manage the bike. He'd like my old Soupy stuff that was worn out
because it just never do that.
Never wall out. It just oosh.
And just kick him in the ass for the whole time.
It just would just be firm. So yeah, like 100%. Like vet guys will appreciate good, or not vet guys. Even
you just don't have to be fast.
You don't have to be fast. You actually need it more. Like you want good suspensions for not having to think about it.
Yes. Yeah.
There you
and
go.
Then
fast, slow, factory. If you don't want to think about it, we're like, you get into riders. Sorry, I'm not hijacking you. No. Kenny Roxon.
Yeah.
His suspension is so soft. He almost lost his career because his bike bottomed out in the face of a triple and he went over the bars. He rides off feel. He manipulates the bike. He won't put it in positions that it shouldn't go. Then you have Chase Sexton, Eli Tomac, that they don't want that thing to do a certain thing.
Yeah.
They will jump into a hole. It just shouldn't do a thing.
Yeah.
But that bike's gonna feel harsh. You have to ride it at that percentage every time.
Every lap.
Kenny, I'm out.
Yeah.
And when Kenny can get that bike to do things, and he's on with that, and we've seen it.
Yeah.
But the problem is the game's changed. Like we see him doing things that if it's not in that perfect world
if
scenario.
If it's not in the pocket, he's out. Yeah.
If it's not in that pocket.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly right. So to your point, if you want to just trust in your bike, the firmer you can get it with that comfort and trust, the safer you're going to be. So yes, the good suspension is, don't just buy the kit suspension in the box and think you're good. You got to get a good tuner, whether it's
that's also true.
Like get someone that you trust. If you see their name with a lot of guys using it, Enzo, Factory Connection, but the local guy like Charlie Costanza here on the Gold Coast
literally worked for Factory Connection for years.
Like just go to the right guys and with your stuff, but don't buy it thinking the shiny shit's going to be good. You still have to tune it. Like Rick Gilmore, had a lot of
shout out to Gilmore, fucking killing
changed the game. Pound it for Gilmore.
Yeah, big dog,
dude. He's
a G.
Sunshine Coast, very he is absolutely. He's Tomax. If you don't know Tomax chassis,
suspension,
and he did my Yamaha 450 for me when I was in the States.
Sick. Butter.
Yeah, like he's incredible.
Well, also too, we should say that it's not like you have to buy like kit stuff either. You can get stock stuff really good as well. I think
the
stock
function,
but it has its limitations. Like I don't think I could ever fully be down with the.
We're kind of like we're chromoly guys, like we're KTM group people guys. I'm a gas guy. You're on KTM's, Yamahas. Come on, KYB, KYBs, Varg guy, KYBs. You don't need to do much of those.
No.
Showa, you're good. KTM's function in production with the air fork, it has limitations.
Yeah.
But the KYB and Showa stuff, man, it's like factory stuff from a couple of years ago. You just need it tuned right. Just go to the right tuner. I get a lot of people DMing me asking about who they should go to. If you see a lot of people using that stuff,
that's probably the guy.
That's probably the guy.
But as far as the Gold Coast goes, Charlie Costanzo is
probably one of the best, I would say.
There's just not many people that have had the experience that he's had.
Yeah, he doesn't do it because it's shiny or because he wants to look cool. His shop might not be the coolest shop, but Charlie Costanzo on the Gold Coast is amazing. Just like Ross's at Enzo. People think Enzo Racing because it's a clean logo, got style. Dude, it's a small little shop in Santa Ana, California that has millions of dollars of tech that comes through that brain of Ross and his crew there. So just get the right people that have data. Yeah. They have data. Trust the data.
Yeah. I think too the importance as well, while we're just like full suspension chatting, is just fucking sag, man. Like
balance.
How many people don't understand, like even Matty. So Matty rode, he ended up riding my 350. I hurt my wrist. And he said, the forks feel like harsh initially. And I was like, they probably do, but also we didn't do the sag. And you could visibly see the bike was
low in the back.
So that's
it started
like
deflecting.
It's just making the front do weird shit. So it's like just that balance. You want your initial plushness. Don't soften your forks up. Check that your balance is right. So there's just so many like little things that you can do. But as far as I'm lucky, I guess, with the MX Tech guys helping out. But for me, I was just like, fucking, let's get these 49s in this bad boy. Let's sex this bitch up.
I'm anxious to ride it, man. It'd be
really cool to get your feedback.
Yeah, I would love to ride it. I'm gonna ride the model year 23 KTMs for the first time next week.
Oh, where's that at?
At Conondale. Get to go back to Conondale again.
Oh, fucking, I haven't got an invite. How's that?
Breaking news.
No invite.
Oh,
Fucking
man.
off that. What day is it?
I think it's Thursday, Friday next week.
I'm just literally going to fucking rock up. Wait,
Yeah.
honestly, Griff, should we literally just rock up and be like, I didn't get my invite, but I'm here.
That's awesome.
I actually want to get a 23 KTM.
I'm going to do KTM and then Husky back-to-back days.
Oh, so it's the next day.
Yeah. How good does that 300 look, though?
Dude, I was actually going to ask you about that.
It looks cool, like a production SX 300.
Dude, it looks it sounds insane. Actually, can you pull up the video of that? Just the fucking sound. The other thing too, so Jed fully did the motor on the 350. So
you know what? Sorry, 350 gas this year. They make it in production.
They are doing one?
I'm hoping I can.
Are you going to get back?
I want to get back on the 350.
Would you still say 350s like
For me, favorite bike.
Okay.
And like hands down, like I've learned to ride the 450 better.
Yeah.
But like take Coolum in the sand. Man, 4-lap sand, I'm like,
it's crazy,
Betsy.
eh?
Oh, Betsy. Because then you start over revving it because it takes talent to be a low RPM.
Yeah.
And you start over revving it, then you're like ass back and forth because you're running out of talent. Where the 350, you can still run the high R's or whatever. But I'm hoping that I can convince Rosie to hook me up with a 350. If not, I'll just buy one. Like I love that bike. Like I absolutely love the 350s, and I love the versatility of it. I'm not looking to go drag race anyone up to Toowoomba or Mount St. Helens. Like I just want to have fun every time I ride. From like the 450 at our local tracks is too much.
Yeah.
Our local tracks here, or Paris, or any local track, a 450 is too much power.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I noticed. So I spent my 350 has been down for ages, like doing the build on it. We did the build in a week, but I basically have had it apart for like fucking 2 months. So, but
Dude,
I
your
rode,
dad crushed it with his Cerakote skills.
The
Was he a
brakes are my
painter back in the
favorite.
day? Was he a painter?
No, he's just fucking. I should actually airdrop you this, Griff. The photos just to show the people.
Yeah, it's you did a good job, man. Like people can do too much to those things in the builds, but you really did a good job of just less is more.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'll try and I'm gonna airdrop Griff some pics.
The throwback graphics, and then I love the coated Brimbos, and then the overlay of highlighting the Brembo logo, and yeah, you nailed it, dude.
Thanks, bro. I'll just put up some. It'd actually be good to show the footage of the bike, the clamps and all this shit we're talking about.
So while you're looking for that, when I got to race Red Bull Straight Rhythm as an alternate, because Reedy got hurt, so I was there just as an alternate.
Oh, was there? I remember.
I built that was a 300.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like that was a 300, one of the kits they had. So I built that in my garage. Like just when I say built it, I put a top half on it. Like
right.
So like I love the 300, man. Like but I've obviously not rode the new one. But wow.
Oh, so yeah, so you would have rode. You essentially rode a 2023, but not.
No, but it'll be way better than my bike. I believe they'll have it tuned right. This is why I'm so excited to ride model year 23 KTM group bikes. I have nothing.
You got nothing to do with it.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So like it's like, man, they're gonna tell me how bad I was at my job. Like
Yeah.
like obviously there's so many great people, but I don't know what the specs are, what it is. Like I never rode any part of those 450s. Nothing. So is it fuel injected?
Fuel injected,
Yeah,
yeah.
see, yeah, it's.
Have you got video up?
And I can tell you the first fuel injected two-stroke I rode was not
good.
Not for a motocross.
And
I've not heard the same. I've not heard
yeah.
the same for this thing. This thing sounds badass.
So go up, Griff. What's the video that was? Yeah, that one there. Just like watch the Vital. Shout out to Vital. Don't play. Is this talking?
Jacob Hayes. It was badass when he was younger, dude.
Yeah. He fucking really was. There is like a video. Jeff Walker. Maybe it's Verb Moto.
Yeah, Verb had. They
had Jeff Walker on it. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, no, who did they?
Think so.
No,
remember.
who they had? He was ripping.
Oh yeah, here you go. Whoever this is. Yeah, maybe not. Yeah, that's Jeff Walker there. Turn that sound up. Look at him go. How's the over rev it sounds like it has?
Oh, dude, obviously that chassis is pretty good. He smashed into that wall, didn't like high side him off. Nasty scrub.
What is up with that sound? Shit sounds whack. It sounds crazy. Have you listened to like the videos?
Yeah,
of it?
It doesn't sound like the early on KTM 2-strokes EFI were they're like a vacuum.
Yeah.
This is not, clearly does not sound like a vacuum.
yeah.
So that's so, I mean, dude, yeah, we talk, I'm obviously super fan of the Varg, but then like these guys are still developing 2-strokes. Like you have two ends of the spectrum, gas, premix, electric, and there's something for everyone, man. Let's all play.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
It's so good. It's so good. Like I can't wait to give these things a try, to see, there's been a lot of racing comments on chassis.
Yeah.
I don't think they deliver a bike that was garbage. Like I think that I think in AMA Motocross, when it comes to the KTM group, there's been a spiraling out of control. Riders going through seasons of life. Riders coming off injuries.
Team stuff. Yeah.
And it all points to like easy to point the finger at, like late getting product, late getting this, not comfortable with this. But like, I just don't see them developing a bike that went backwards, like all like that far back. I just don't see it. Like, and then you have, I'm not saying it didn't. They
haven't missed some stuff, or it's not going to get better.
I just don't see, and Ryan Morris develops these bikes alongside the R&D group. Like they reference, like I just don't see him getting so far sideways to where like, I mean, you look at Cooper Webb and his wife's pregnant. His season of life is different. He had this trainer.
Yeah, there's so much going on there.
Let's look at this, dude. I talked to Burner about something on the phone. He's probably not the biggest fan of the KTM group.
Yeah.
Cooper gets second or third the first round, and then he gets clipped. Then Cooper's season spirals.
Yeah.
Like a little bit. So it's the trainer's fault that he didn't win the first round. The bike, like
the guys won you 2 Supercross championships.
Yeah, like I don't get, like there's so much internal stuff, and then as soon as it leaks, as soon as Cooper's not doing good, and then Plessinger's not doing good, and then it just spirals, and then you Husqvarna. I mean, Dino's not. He's not been in the mental space to perform like he's wanted. And
again, a lot of team stuff going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, you have Scuba leaving,
Nate Ramsey stepping in.
There's just so much dynamic. Going back to the bike, I just don't see the bike being that bad. Like I don't hear it from consumers across the. I don't hear it from test guys.
Well, that's the thing. Like I was watching Kiefer's video on the 2023. And
Kiefer knows what's up, dude.
Yeah, he's not gonna he doesn't need to say that something's good if it isn't good, because I want to buy a new 350 as well. And I was like, fuck, it'd be pretty sick to see what this new thing's all about. He's like, yeah, this is better. Like it's a better, like it's like your old 350, but it's a little bit better.
Did you know that the bottom ends on all the model year 23s are the same, even the 450?
Oh no, I didn't know that.
So like in years before 22 and beyond and earlier, the bottom cradle was the only thing different. So the bottom motor mounts were the only thing different, because the 450s, the 450 and 2-strokes cradle where they mount the motor bottom end was different. The new 23 450 bottom end is the same bottom end as the 250.
Wow.
So they can use the same chassis. So that's where it could affect a little bit, because you have a 450 has more of a square, like the current one I'm riding from Gas. The 22, it's more a bigger bottom end, where they've gone to like a smaller bottom end. So but they've been developing this since 2020.
Yeah.
Like this has not been.
Yeah. But I mean, fuck, like it's hard. It's hard to do.
Yeah.
You look at what's happening right now in Formula One.
Oh,
you got Mercedes.
Oh my gosh. I'm a Formula One like very like top level, like enjoy it, and the porpoising and all that.
Yeah.
Right. And let's go back. Honda 2009.
Yeah.
Backwards. Was it 9 or 8? Honda goes backwards for 2 years before they go forwards.
Yeah.
They start KTM goes
from like 09 that, like 10, 11, 12 was, that's still pretty good, but it wasn't. I think the chassis was all right. The motor probably wasn't the best. And then you go 14, 15, 16 was like the shittest 450 of all fucking time. That bike sucks. I know. And then you start to then it gets a little bit like it happens. It's hard to make a new motorcycle good. And you look at Cowie right now is still running the 0809 CRF frame basically from Honda.
Absolutely. And then
there's just a window.
There is, and you have to go backwards to go forwards a little bit, right? So James Stewart, Yamaha L&M Racing.
Yeah.
Yamaha.
Shit timing.
Then they go to the new bike.
Yeah.
Dude, that's JGR Yamaha.
Yeah.
Talk about the biggest, like, that thing was terrible. That bike, James Stewart single-handedly killed Yamaha 450 sales.
For years.
Years. Then all of a sudden, Star Racing, it still sucked until 2 years ago. The Yamaha 450 still sucked in the eyes of the perception of the community.
Since 09 to 2022.
10-year decade that it was a pile of crap. And then I got on it. It was winning shootouts. Then I got on it, and I'm like, why do people hate this thing?
Yeah.
Like, I bought one after I left KTM. I'm like, why do people hate this? I tested for KYB. I'm like, this thing's one of the best 450s I've ever had. Maybe I'm tripping.
Yeah.
Nah.
Maybe you're just salty.
Yeah. Maybe I'm just salty. I just hit a plateau at KTM. Yeah. No, man. Like, and you look at, Eli's
and then
winning.
You look at Craig Jack, Roman Fevre.
Like, I think CDR is a prime example.
Yeah.
An elite program that's always done right by the bike.
Well, they've had the freedom to just like make the bike good. They haven't had the biggest budget. Like, they've got the biggest budget in Australia. But as far as
compared to Star
AMA or whatever, not the biggest budget. So they've got to make smart decisions within a certain budget. But you also can make a bike like good. You do have room.
Yeah. So you asked about 52 millimeter clamps.
They don't run them.
Or 52 millimeter forks. The factory Yamaha team, when it was ran in-house by they would justify people's jobs. Well, we need a machinist, so if he's not machining anything,
we don't need a machinist. We can't fire him.
We can't fire him. So they're making billet clamps and this and this and this and justifying this guy's data and dude, now you look at it, times have changed. Justin Cooper's bike, Stars stripped that back to cast clamp stock. His bike's all stock, and then you got Levi Kitchen's bike. It's all billet parts because they're like,
that's what he wants.
So it's times have changed, but I don't feel that any company besides Suzuki's delivering, because they're just not delivering anything. Like, these guys aren't delivering bad product. And then Husky, KTM, you have Anderson that wasn't performing just because he's in a funk. Goes to Cowie and is, even though he didn't win the series, best season of his career in Supercross, hands down. Like,
as far as race win goes,
wins goes on a Cowie. But then,
which is an 08 Honda,
and then
with
you
a
have,
hydraulic clutch.
But then you have Tomac, who leaves on a Cowie and goes and wins on a Yamaha. So I don't know. I'm interested to see what. Bottom line is, I'm really excited to ride the bikes. And very confident to feel like there's things that I know what I don't like about the 22s.
You've spent so much time
on that. I'm like, I wonder if they fix those nuances. Like, in those things that I don't like. And if they did, like, I'm gonna be even a bigger fan of the brands. And if they didn't, then I can work on some aftermarket parts to fix those problems. Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, I think it just goes back to, you can see that Mercedes can get it wrong. Dude, Ferrari. So it's like, no. Yeah, it happens, it just, it does. It's hard to make. You're running at the razor edge all the time, and you're constantly just trying for just the smallest, like, these marginal gains. And, it's this whole package that has to kind of come together. And if Mercedes can get it wrong at F1, then Roger DaCosta can also get it. Absolutely. You know what I mean? People are human. Yeah, fucking oath, for sure. So absolutely. I think too, there's a bigger combo as well with KTM. Maybe this isn't why I'm getting a fucking invite to the ride day, but there's a bigger thing going on where at one point the entire focus of KTM was winning motocross and supercross championships. That's all they gave a fuck about. That's all they wanted to do. And then, so that if you look at the trajectory of KTM as a brand, they started winning in off-road.
They started making great trail bikes. They made these funky two-strokes. They started winning everything. They won Erzberg. They won. That's where that's their little niche. That's the corner that they carved out for themselves. And then they said, well, we want to start winning motocross. So then 03, 04, you've got Coppins, you've got Townley, you've got these guys, Joel Smets, and you've got, then you've got Tyler Rattray, you've got all these, that Grant Langston. That 03 period was KTM going all in on motocross. And then they fucking won. They went all in and then they won. Until they won, and then they said, now we need to win Supercross. And then what did they do?
Hired Haney. And Nathan Ramsey. And Mike Alessi.
And Mike Sleeter.
Oh, no, I was there the guy on the team that got the mud off the track at testing. Dude, real quick, I was so not all part of that team that I remember Jerry Mallet would make me cut the Red Bull out of my test bike because I wasn't allowed to have a like I would go and test bikes and he's like, hey man, can you make sure that Sleeter cuts the Red Bull out of the shrouds?
I fucking love it.
That's rad though. Like how rad that you just aren't good enough to run a sticker.
I love it. So then they go and then they win Supercross championships and then they become the team. What do they want to win now?
Oh, dude, MotoGP.
They don't give a fuck. Is that like, so let's just live in a universe for 5 seconds where
resource. They
don't give a fuck. They've already won. Not that maybe they don't give a fuck is too harsh of a word to say. Okay, let's forget about MotoGP. Dakar. They're in that world. And then they win, 10 in a row? And then now, right around the time where the Supercross team's starting to struggle a little bit, the rally team's not doing so great either. They grenaded almost every single one of their new 450 motors that they developed for Dakar this year. So you're seeing this like downward trend now in the factory efforts of KTM, just globally in motocross and supercross. They're not going to win. Yeah. They wouldn't if Jeff was in the World Championship. They still would probably win that. But they're probably not going to win.
But that's a big if with him. How many champions? Yeah. Like, that's the thing.
Well, there's 5 he lost and there's 5 that he won.
They had a 50% chance.
Yeah. But so, if you look at the trend of KTM off-road, it's going down massively in terms of, like, the racing, like the pinnacle racing. Yeah. And then they're spending so much money in MotoGP. So, KTM as a manufacturer, if this is my own fucking hypothesis, take it for what it is. But KTM as a manufacturer said we want to win here, we want to win here, Orange Brigade, like Leesky as well, like the 65 Cup. Like KTM has like seen a space where they weren't dominant and then they went all in with all their chips until they were dominant and then they've just moved their chips around. So they've been playing this game of like all in, move their chips, all in, move their chips, all in. And now they just don't care about motocross and supercross in the same, like the chips have been moved. So now you go into this phase where you've gone from like that all in phase to now just like, now here's a bit of the budget that tries to keep this going. So it's like they're in a maintenance phase. So I really think that what we're seeing in 2022 with KTM is really bad timing of the talent on the bike, relationships with the people at KTM. So you've got talent problems with management, and then you've all got all of this and a new bike being released at this same time. And then you've got all of this as the budget is being kind of into the MotoGP stuff. So that's my like grand conspiracy.
So we
that's why I didn't get an invite to that.
So we don't know. I would say there's a lot to what you're saying.
What's speculation? Break apart my argument.
So in motocross, amateur racing,
yeah,
they should have Danger Boy Deegan. They let him go.
They were never going to keep him.
No, but I'm saying they should have fought harder.
Yeah.
I don't know. Go back to 18 months ago when I sat here. Monster had him.
Yeah.
Monster had him, but they're not They're not evolving with. Roger is old.
Yes.
Roger's old.
Real old.
Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah. Great guy. Real old.
Very smart.
Yes.
Old.
Slow
moving, same ways.
I will be the same as him
Yes.
when I'm that old?
Yeah,
Probably
actually,
way dumber.
Yeah.
Probably
That's
way
right.
shit
I
up.
won't be the same as Roger because Roger
Yeah.
is the man still. He's still like chicks still want to hang out with Roger.
But now he's the old man.
But his ways have not evolved, and they have the Baker's factory, but they don't have the Star factory. Star as in Star Yamaha.
Yeah.
They're more aggressive of finding guys, switching guys, getting through guys. Mitch Payton and Roger are like the same era of management.
Yeah.
Right? Mitch already had this Alden Baker program or Star program before everyone. That's why when we grew up, it was just pro circuit.
Yeah, PC.
Right?
Yeah.
Every day at Glen Helen Thursday, they just practiced, tested together. As Roger and let's not even use people. As businesses get older, they slow down. Sometimes the heartbeat slows down, which would be Mitch and Roger in these cases. And there was Mitch and Bones testing, developing. Bones ain't at pro circuit anymore. I don't even know who their chassis guy is. He's obviously killing it because Shimoda's hauling butt. But that accountability, that aura around that team. Yeah. Right now, you got the management of Stars under 40.
Look at true.
They're under 40, you know.
Yeah.
You know, you got a hungry bunch of dudes that idolize Mitch and Roger that want to knock them off the top.
Yeah.
Right? And how can we expect Roger and Mitch to want to stay up night, do what they do, have the same energy and passion? That's like a big ask.
Massive, man.
So
and if the door's closed and like those people are like holding on to that level still, then where do you go?
Like Jeremy Croker, who manages a Star 450 team, and
he seems like a G.
He's an absolute legend. He has done a complete life change. He was probably 200 pounds growing up his whole life, chubby little guy. He's done a complete lifestyle change, changed his diet, fitness. You look at him now, he's like,
he looks like an athlete.
It looks like an athlete, and he absolutely is leading that program. He was a practice mechanic at Troy Lee from the OG, like lived and breathed this sport. And just idolized what these guys did. Now he's working with Brad Hoffman, who's kind of had the fuck the world type attitude, building these engines, and like they were the redhead stepchild.
Yeah.
And look at all these guys have Duck Dynasty beards, and they want to win at all costs. And Bobby Reagan, the fearless leader, is like, yeah, that's what we do. Unfortunately, they're gonna go through.
The same season will happen. Yeah.
But I think what I was saying, they're gonna go through riders. Like they had Cooper and Jeremy Martin, who started this in like Keith Johnson, Isaiah Johnson. Dude, if you look at the guys that rode for Star back in the day, Star's been around a long time. Star isn't just 5 years old or 10 years old.
Deegan sponsored him.
Yeah.
Remember it was like all Metal Militia?
Yeah.
First time I ever saw Jeremy Martin ride, he was in a Metal Militia hoodie at Parla in summer, black hoodie, and he just was like Metal Militia out. I was like, who the fuck is this?
Right. So like this has been a work in progress. Like that 250F landed and
a bit of luck there. They got kind of the best bike.
Yeah, but Jeremy Martin was coming through no matter what on the Star bike. You have Cooper Webb who was coming through. They started stacking things up.
Yeah.
But you're gonna watch now that the laughing joke on our industry is they've had like 30 guys on their team. They stack them up and they're gonna feed them throughout. They're gonna just drop them out. Like LeBlanc, he ain't staying.
Yeah.
He ain't performing.
Yeah.
Romano, man, I'm on the fence too. There's a lot of really good guys, but I put Romano, Romano.
This is a way bigger combo. Let's go deeper
anyways,
into this.
So there's a group of these amateurs. Everyone's like, I gotta get the guy. Talon Hawkins, great kid, epic family. He ain't got it.
Yeah.
He ain't got it. You don't get 20 or something at a national, your pro debut on a factory bike. Ryder D, he's got it.
Yeah, he's there.
He's got it.
Yeah.
He's in. Like he showed, almost got a whole shot. You got to show some potential on that main stage, right?
Yeah.
You see, I hate to say it, Max Volan, that factory Red Bull KTM ride could have killed his career. The Rogers program is so refined, so good. Shane Best, you ever heard of him? Ben Riddle. Name the guys that have gone through that factory program with Roger DeCoster
that
because
just didn't work for.
When you ride for Roger or Mitch, it's either a cash ticket to the bank or a career ender. Because if you don't perform for them,
you won't perform for anyone. But there's so much like rigidity in those programs, and you can even see it with like with Coop. Why can't the guy who's won 2 Supercross championships not decide where he wants to train and how he wants to do it. Like, why is that a thing? Why is he being told exactly where like, here's the box. You're telling the best guy in the world, that's won you 2 Supercross championships, that you have to go somewhere.
And pay him.
Well, no, I think that's changed.
Yeah, just now.
Yeah,
because this whole thing.
Yeah.
So people don't know before.
That's not come from me. It's come from you.
Yeah. People, when you rode for Red Bull KTM or the KTM
well, there'd
group,
still be some people that'd be paid.
yeah.
I'm
So
sure.
here's your salary of $100 a year. Well, we know they made way more than that.
Yeah.
But you have to contribute X amount to pay for your trainers.
Yeah.
That's how backwards our sport is at times.
Tom Brady does not pay for
you
his
took
trainer.
the words out of my mouth. Football.
Yeah.
You go to a football team for
They go to gym.
for the offensive line coach, for the defense coach, or the special teams, right? Like, you take Red Bull KTM, you could be like, man, their chassis guy is legit. Like, I like their chassis guy. Their engines are solid. Maybe not the best, but their chassis are good. The management of Roger DeCoster, Ian Harrison, that aura they bring.
Yeah.
Ryan Morris, epic test guy. And then you're like, oh, their training program. Well, you got to pay for that. No,
Yeah.
it's all inclusive, but that's not the way it is now. It's like in your salary, and then you pay this guy, and then KTM still pays Alden for the services.
Yeah.
Really confusing to me.
Yeah, it's just super, super rigid.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm just like, I don't see how that works. Like, there's got to be a level of fluidity that you've got to have.
Let me throw this by you, though.
Yeah.
Okay? If I work, I work at...
This is where it gets...
So I work for a company, MXStore and Intense Cycles.
Yeah, this is the conversation that was about to happen through all of sports.
And they say, okay, and this is where as a test guy, I was told I'm going to test at Glen Helen at 2 or 9, and I said, yes, sir, I'll be there at 9. What happens in Moto, and I think sport in general, is when you sign to a new team, you set the precedent on the first day.
Yeah.
The first day. If you go, all right, where do you want to ride today, Cooper Webb? And he's like, I'd like to ride at State Fair. It's fun. Cool, we'll go there. That's not the best place for him to ride.
Yeah.
Right? Or Stanmore. That's not the best place. They're like, we really should go to Coolum the first day.
Yeah.
You're like, that's the best place for us to go.
Yeah.
As soon as they go, yeah, you can. Who works for who?
Yeah.
Who works for who? So to defend KTM, who works for who?
Yeah.
Like,
that's the question.
So going back to NFL.
Yeah.
Right? And, Aussie football, the coach says, you're running this play, you're using this. You don't go, well, I don't like your trainer, I'm going to bring my trainer in.
Yeah.
That's what Kenny Roxon's shocking about.
Yeah.
I'll bring my suspension guy in. They start giving him rope, and they keep taking it and taking it and taking it.
Yeah.
Bobby Reagan does not roll like that.
Yeah.
This is your program. This is what you get. You stay with us. You do this. This is how it is. If you don't like it, beat it.
Yeah.
Mitch Payton, pretty much the same way.
Yeah.
But, like, it's a chicken and egg, I think.
Yeah. No, you're right. This is like the biggest, this is the biggest conversation. This is about to fully take over the sports world, and we're jumping into it in our world with the World Supercross Championship.
Oh, yes.
So, and you're right, man. Like, you're right, because there is a certain... And so this is where Star is nailing it, right? So there is fluidity there. Eli came over to Star because he could do certain things. And guess what? He was fucking right. The things that he wanted to do obviously worked. Am I right? You know.
Yeah.
So you're right. Who works for who? Am I the guy that rides for, like, am I Eli Tomac, that is the independent contractor that is contracting to my services to Kawasaki for this season, and any time that's in between is my fucking time, and you don't own me, and I can do what I want to do as long as I don't have conflicts with this contract. So it's like, is that the world that we live in? Because I genuinely don't know the answer.
I don't either.
Like, I don't know how the argument goes there, but I think that the proof is in the pudding, in the sense that you look at what Star's been able to do. It is a rigid program, but there is fluidity. Oh, Eli, you can run this clutch. You can use air forks.
Renthal grips.
You can use the grips that you want. Because at the end of the day, does it really fucking matter? No, I
totally agree. But then going to Star, like, I was the autonomy that the Deegans want to have.
Yeah.
I was like, how's that going to work with Star being so rigid and like strict?
But it doesn't. To me, I don't see rigid and strict in that program. Like I see
with like motorcycle. I talk motorcycle, like what races they ride. Like will he hop on Dad's bike? Like I'm just thinking like what races you do. Yeah. But I think Brian's obviously so smart that he lays out, this is our plan. Like either on it or off it out front. Yeah. I think that's really where it goes. Up front, open. Yeah. What's my expectation? Yes. Like I think most riders.
I think all riders think that they're in the independent contractor bin. So this is where like this is where the impasse is happening, right? So like Coop right now would feel like I'm an independent contractor. I'm the one riding the motorcycle. You can't just replace me. Because really, you can't. You know what I mean? There's a finite group of people that you can pick from as an elite motorcycle manufacturer that can win a Supercross championship for you. Coop's done it twice, right? Yep. So in Cooper's mind, he is this like independent contractor that has signed with this team, which is KTM, and then they've got to kind of work together. To use the football analogy, greatest team combination of all time, Belichick and Brady. Do you think that Belichick was like telling Tom Brady exactly how he had to spend every minute of his time? And do you think that Tom Brady was copping that? Then especially as the seasons go on and there's more and more rings getting won, like that relationship to me from the outside looking in, if I'm Belichick and I've got a stud like Tom Brady and I'm creating a dynasty, you're going to slowly start to give that guy more and more trust, right? So if you're like, this is me playing Coop. So you're Cooper Webb. You've won 2 Supercross championships for this team. And as you get further into your career, the leash gets fucking tighter around your neck. How would that feel? That would probably feel quite counterintuitive. It's like, whoa. I'm winning for you and I'm doing what I got paid to do, but like I don't think that's how the relationship should go. And then what happens? You get what fucking Eli did to Cowie. He just goes like, I'm out, I'm fucking leaving. And so in that sense of like, are they independent contractors? Well, yeah, because they can fucking dip. Like they can leave, you know? So, and then that gets into this World Supercross thing, right? KTM, this is to what I understand, has stopped Cooper Webb from racing 3 races of Supercross in the off season, right? $500,000. That's what he's losing.
So, man.
So in a sport, so this is where I'm always going to be pro rider if I can. In a sport where you're risking your fucking life.
You don't know if tomorrow's your last race.
Mate, you don't know if that fucking part that they put in your new bike that you're out testing is going to grenade on you on an up ramp. Guess what? It's fucking happened and it's ruined people's lives, right? So you want to tell me, how do you, like, as a human, like, have the conscience to go $500,000? You can't have it. So why? Purely political reasons.
So you make me feel old and like in very politically correct with answering this, because I know
I'm down to hear both sides.
So I am pro rider.
Yeah.
But then I go, I'm gonna give you why they're saying no and leaving out if it was political or not.
Yeah, okay? yeah.
I'm gonna leave out that because I feel there's a pretty big side of why it is
hugely political.
But why I'll let the folks know why riders can't just dictate where my bike goes, where this goes.
Yeah.
Okay. So the 3 rounds of World Supercross are over the globe. They can't they're not going to package his bike up, send it to Australia, and then send it to Indo, and then send it to England, because they have to have 2 staffers minimum go. So and I don't know I don't know all the stories. So is Coop willing?
Yes.
To pay the whole bill for the air freight?
500, take 15. What's that leave us with?
So what's happening though is, going back to contract and rider, he agreed on a job to do this job, right? So
Yeah.
Matt, you'd agree on jobs,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, the 11th hour, there's like, man, I can squeeze this other job in, but it's at risk. I might not finish your job for you. Okay, so he's like, I signed up to win 2023 Supercross. You've actually let me have an outdoor only contract. Shit, I could do this other job and make $500,000, but it's a partnership and it's a contract that they're supposed to use him to win. They're like, yeah, you're out, because if something happens to our business or we lose you, you've compromised our investment, so screw you. Like, I'm not saying they shouldn't let him ride. I'm not saying it's not right for the sport, but I'm going to back KTM going, nah, you did your deal before this came up. I don't care if it's $1 million or we're looking out for our best interest, our investment. This is you could have done a 6-month deal with us, but you didn't want a 6-month deal. You could have done a 1-year deal, but you wanted a 2-year deal. This came in the middle of our 2-year deal. And now you're saying, I don't care. You agreed on a job. Like, you agreed on a job. Like, you signed the deal to make $2.5 million with us, and now you want an extra $500,000. Yeah, we like an extra 200 units sold, but we only can get this. So sorry, Coop. I'm a big fan, but you're out. Like, it's not about the series. It's about what he agreed upon. And this is extra $500,000. It's an extra risk to their series.
I don't see. I agree with you completely. And if he signed. So he didn't have a deal for 2023 though until recently. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
So what's going to happen now is it's going to be strain on the relationship. Huge.
Exactly.
No. So like, is the juice worth?
Exactly.
Like, I'm not saying I'm sharing.
Yeah.
Why KTM?
You are. Yeah. You're right.
He made a deal. This goes back to straight contractor to contractor.
Yeah.
You signed it. So my old man.
So if he's got a 2-year deal, then I would concede to that argument for sure.
If he signed a deal to do this, like to deliver X, like if he's a plumber or an electrician, your job is to do X, Y, and Z. His job is pretty simple. You compete 18 Supercrosses, 17 Supercrosses, 12 outdoors, and fucking win.
Yeah.
Right? Show up to these autograph signings. We pay for your flight. You go to Alan Baker's factory. Is that good for you? We're going to give you $1 million. Yep, that's good for me. Sweet. Deal signed. Done. Halfway through the year, hey, I wanted this other thing for $500,000, and then my factory bike that we've done all this development is going to travel the world in a box. They're like, nah. Going back to Roger's old.
Yeah.
This is new.
Old.
Right? Yeah. This is new.
Yeah.
Okay? You can't, like, yeah, you can do that when you're done with us. That's fine. Well, no, I want it now. Sorry, you've made a deal. And my old man, who I idolize, my dad, always told me when I do my deals when racing, everything's negotiable until he signed that line. Then you got to do the job.
Yeah. Hey,
if you want more money, you ask for it before you sign. But once you do that, you do the best job you can. But because the sports autonomy and because he was supposed to do outdoors this year, let's role play it. He was supposed to do outdoors this year, right?
Yeah.
Something was up. Cooper don't quit.
Something was up.
Cooper don't quit.
Yeah.
Something was up. Like, he wasn't feeling good. Shit's going on.
I actually don't know.
I don't either. Yeah. I don't either. But he just is not a quitter, man. The kid's a quitter. So they're like, hey, you're not. They gave him some autonomy. They're like, dude, you should just not race. We got Dunge to fill your shoes. Let's get you healthy to win. Meanwhile, while he's getting healthy, he's like, dude, I can make $500,000. They're like, we just gave you a whole 12-month or 12 rate, the whole summer break, and now you're wanting more? How much more? Nah, we're out. We already gave you if you would have delivered, if you would have been winning outdoors,
yeah,
I bet they would be a different story. I'm just throwing it
out
there.
No. Yeah, your point of like where the contract is, because that is where the rubber hits the road.
That's the rider. Like, the riders think they own the riders think the factory works for them.
Yeah.
And if the rider's delivering, the factory will work for them.
So there needs to be, so like to go back to the Brady Belichick thing, right? So Brady left.
Yeah.
And then guess what? Pats haven't won fuck all.
And this is where we're transitioning into what we're talking about.
Yeah. So it's like what there has to be some play ball that you can do.
If we transition to World Supercross, I know a lot about how this is built out.
Yeah.
Right? And the American regime Have you seen the American regime that runs the series, the outdoor motocross, is the Coombs family,
The
MX
cartel.
Sports. They monopolize.
Wait, honest, before we start this, Davey Coombs, fucking great guy.
Hey,
As far as to me and him, so all the discussion, that guy, I've never in my life met a person that knows as many people's first names as Davey Coombs.
Okay, this goes to my point, and before we get into bench racing and banter about
this is just going to be like full, just throwing shit around. There's going to be shit stick on the wall, some will slide off.
If someone dislikes the Coombs family or MX Sports or Loretta Lynn's or Racer X or any of the things, do a better job.
Yeah, no one has.
No one has, and very few will ever probably.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they run MX Sports.
It's the Time magazine of motocross.
They build a racing series for amateur racing that is the pinnacle of why America is what it is. They provide. They love it, man. Like, money's one thing, but they absolutely love. They have the GNCC. Yep. They have Loretta Lynn's. They have Pro Moto. They don't need AMA, dude. Yeah. They don't need the American Motorcycle. They allow the AMA in there for legacy. Yeah. They are the backbone. Like, they are the hardest working family in motocross, and they're royalty. Yeah. But it's a business. And when they're threatened, when they're threatened by what is global Supercross, dude, people start making power moves. Things start happening, and
there is a big chessboard of like this whole industry, and there's people that can move certain pieces. There's people that are now coming in with new pieces that they can move that other people can't move. Like, dude, this podcast is like a piece of it.
It is.
You know what I mean? And then like, I'm the person that can move these chessboard.
Before we got into this, we had to be transparent of what we feel these people, because they're that good and that powerful.
Yeah, 100%.
Like Tim Cotter, behind the scenes, but he's the announcer. He's the data guy. Carrie Joe. You've seen the movie, the Netflix thing, Yellowstone?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Well, the Coombs family.
Yeah, Yellowstone. That's so good.
Have you seen how that thing's put together?
Nah.
Yellowstone it's a power family.
Yeah, okay.
And Dave Coombs
it's on my
Sr.
iPad and I haven't watched it.
Watch it. Dave Coombs Sr. built a Yellowstone family.
That's
like the diplomatic, strong, like as in Davey.
Yeah.
Carrie Joe's the lawyer. Like, dude, he built a superpower family, and they live and breathe moto. Like, Davey.
Well, and it's their livelihood, and it's the livelihood of like hundreds of people.
Yes, they give back to the sport. They produce content. They employ people. Like, Jason Wygant, lump him in with that family like he's like the adopted son, right? Like, there is...
And a straight up gift to the sport.
Yeah, and then you have the Verb crew that allowed them to, like...
So true.
Like I said, this before we get into this, there's layers of this. And a global Supercross program has came in and disrupted everything.
Yeah.
And
motocross is the one that's going to suffer.
The core competency... It's the dog years, and Jeremy Mallett, a.k.a. Hammer, good friend of ours. I was surprised to hear he wasn't down with global Supercross. Yeah. I was honestly, because he's so forward thinking, right? And Jeremy will be listening to this going, dude, why are you dogging me out? But I was surprised he wasn't down with some forward thinking, because he had told me, and I've heard him say it to some strong people, is why are we letting promoters dictate how many races we have to go to as OEMs? So AMA comes with a schedule. Here's where you're going for the outdoors, and here's how many Supercrosses, and everyone goes, okay, why don't the OEMs as a group dictate how many races they're going to?
Yeah. It's not a two-way street.
It's not
in
a two-way street.
Different ways.
So like the global Supercross is like, hey, own your capital of the team. You don't have to pay for entries. We're gonna inject some money into here. Let's talk about what you need. I know it's more to it than that as it gets into it, but I think when this global Supercross, they thought that people should ask for permission to start doing it.
Yeah. Well, that was funny. I heard the Jason Thomas on Pulp, and he like the whole start of his thing was basically him saying like, well, they weren't supposed to do this. They weren't gonna come in and get the top guys. It's like, the fucking what? This $50 million Supercross series was banking on Kyle Chisholm That's not how the fuck this works, bro. Like, at what point, if you believe that, then I don't know if I could ever listen to anything you say again. Because where the fuck does that come from?
Money talks and bullshit walks, right? And the experience. Like, I heard Kenny go on Pulp and talk about he's so stoked to race Global Supercross because he's going to be able to travel to places and change the narrative.
It's fun.
And see things and become more of a global superstar, and just so much things that he's excited to see. And, you know, I see these teams, that the opportunity for riders, and it's scary if you're an MX Sports that has been lifting. MX Sports took pro motocross that was dead. It was dead. It was dying a slow death, and they rejuvenated it. And as much as we're having problems with the live stream, and dude, I still pay for it, and I adjust because I want to see the Tomac and Sexton battles and the Jet and Hunter dominance, because they're trying. They're not trying to just take our money. Like, it causes them stress, and you got, you know, the whole network, RacerX network, JT. You know, those guys are different than us, but that's what's great. Dude, JT is so diplomatic and uses words. I think he flexes on his vocabulary just to flex. And, you know, but they're different. They're now in, you know, Boise, Idaho, in Vegas and Florida and Truman and the industry idiots. And we're out here in Australia, and I go to war with those guys about, like, my passion for the industry, but like, I appreciate them. I listen to their podcast. I listen to JT's Industry Idiots because he's actual got information. He actual has firsthand information. He lives it. He breathes it. He loves it. Whether I agree with everything they say, I don't really. And I there's a lot of it's a financial. They're very one-sided because there's a financial gain. Yeah. There's a financial gain. You know, you can only be so ingrained without getting financial.
100%.
Kiefer, he works for Yamaha and Honda. You can only be so biased without cutting the hands that feed you.
Man, hey, I mean, like, I take a massive hit for just saying whatever fuck I want. Like, I have not a lot of industry support.
Yeah.
Like, you listen to the ads, there's like 5. There's not a lot of people.
Yeah, you
because I do say whatever the fuck.
When you start,
you limit the scope when you just are fully honest.
Yeah, if you're fully transparent, you limit who you can work with. Let's be honest. Yeah. And like, those guys, and that's fine. They're industry leaders.
That's fine.
They're industry leaders, but now they're threatened because someone else is threatening the leadership, and they're from down the road here on the Gold Coast of Australia.
Yeah, no, and the real thing. Not
those people. Sorry, not JT and Steve Mathis. Like the industry as one, and why I feel they're sorry to cut you off, is why I feel they're threatened is usually they're first to know everything.
Now they're in the dark.
They're in the dark,
shit.
man.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It would feel weird, man. Like I said about that when we
not
opened
having
this
instant access, not having tickets to everything,
not asking them questions.
The passes.
You said it. They're not. They didn't ask permission.
Yeah.
They didn't ask permission.
Well, I did hear some shit. I did hear that there were a couple of a couple of meetings that just went fucking wrong. It was like from the Global SX side.
Yeah.
So
I think there's some ways they could.
I think that it's all been.
I think the Global
rosy.
SX team could have taken some paths a little different.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think there's people aren't used to change, and I think it's a pivotal time for Global Supercross to, if they can get people moving, and they get people going. Oh, I can race, let's say in 23, there's 8 rounds. Call it 8, call it 10. 10 rounds, you can make $3.5 million. You can travel the world with your chick, and you can do this, and you'll make $200,000 less or $200,000 more.
Yeah.
It's a simple.
Or this is what's going to happen is you go, I'll do my Supercross, and then I'll do Supercross.
Yeah,
just like, and that's the real problem.
But there's going to be decisions. There's going to be decisions.
People are just going to have their hand forced.
So think of this.
Because hey, wait, sorry. If Coop can we're talking $500,000, right? So this is what Coop's going to miss out on. 500, whatever. That's for 3 races. What happens next year when this thing's 8 races? So all of a sudden you don't need this. I'm going to go on a rant. Sorry.
You're fine.
Formula One car. Danny Ricciardo's having problems with McLaren. he can't just go and get another car and put it on the grid, right? Hey, Cooper Webb can go to a dealership tomorrow. Hey, I'm pretty sure he did it for the last rounds of motocross last year, where he just went and bought a fucking bike and rode his own frame. I don't know, like, where people are at with that, but hey, you can fucking do this. You can go and buy a KTM 450, spend, let's say 30 grand. Just go nuts. 30 grand. You're making 500 for 3 races. 30 grand gets you a fucking sick KTM 450 that you can race at Supercross.
So check this out.
If you've got 8 races next year, you can make 500 grand in 3 this year. And then you've got 8 of those next year. So you're making 1 point something. That's without sponsor bonuses. That's without win bonuses. That's without... I'm just going to go buy 4 fucking 450s, make them exactly how I want, sell my own logo. Like, we're entering a weird time right now.
Absolutely.
And guess what? Roger's KTM 450 doesn't mean shit. Coop doesn't want to ride it as it is now. Like, this me put... You know what I mean?
So, yeah, you nailed it. So, let's... Quick budget. Ready? Quick budget.
Quick maths.
75 grand practice mechanic.
Yep.
Can go on the road with you.
Yep.
Right? He's stoked now.
Practice and race.
Practice and race.
Actually getting paid good money. Right? Doesn't have to work for a factory.
You have, let's do, not that he's the best or not. Jamie Ellis, Twisted Development, going to do your motors.
Yep.
Do your ECUs. That's 8 grand.
49 mil MX Tech forks. Amazing.
Yeah, exactly, right? He can run 48s instead of 52s, 49s or whatever from MX Tech. He's going to get extra. And this is granted, he has to pay for this stuff.
Which he won't. Because I get this shit for free. And I fucking suck.
So in Supercross, it's very attainable to build your own program. Like, they're already paying
100%.
Like, it's going to be
racing, baby.
And Chad did it the hardest way.
Fucking oath he did.
Not because it was the wrong way.
No,
he had to.
It had to, yeah.
He had to. 2-2. Even Jeremy, like Larry, right? Like, look at, there's a scalability of this to do it your own way, to put the people around you that you want to do it. Like, I mean, it's as soon as people start going, as soon as the Kenny's go all in with this, and there's going to be a shift.
Yeah.
And things are going to change for the best for everyone.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, for possibly pro motocross.
Well, that's the problem though. So like,
and I love pro motocross, dude.
Oh, I'm the same, dude. Millville was some of the best racing like ever in those classes, you know. But that's so for the people that, I guess, if you're the average fan that doesn't understand why this is causing so many problems, Feld won't affect Feld in the same way, because it's Supercross is what everyone wants to win. Well-oiled machine. The stadiums are booked. There's a whole other deal there as to pretty much like why you can't even race Supercross in America in a fucking stadium is because Feld owns that shit. So there's that. So Feld is fine. So the neck that's on the chopping block with Global SX is unfortunately AMA Motocross. So I just don't know how. That's the bit, and I'm for Global SX. Fucking stoked that it's happening, but I'm also bummed that it does look like that's the race, that's the series that's on the chopping block.
Yeah, I would say when you say a series, I would say you're gonna see the series will be like as a whole will be strong. You're gonna see over time, because you're gonna see the Tomax race. Obviously, he's racing Global Supercross. That's his next cash thing. Yeah. And it is laughable now. Everyone's like, oh, it's the Global Supercross, the retired riders. Like, it's the vet series.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
there's another argument here too.
No, like, and I'm like, I can see. Well, Kenny proved that wrong. Yeah. Right. Kenny's still active podium guy and race winner. Tomac now doing the strategy. I think Global Supercross still has a lot of messaging to do, a lot of sorting out with what, like, you know, it's like, I don't understand how Kenny, you know, I dug deep into this. I don't understand, and I love the Global Supercross crew as well. I hope they don't slap my hand for this, but I don't get it. How can Kenny just land in the series and not be on a team? Because when you submitted a team, you had the rules keep changing in Hunger Games. Yeah. So I don't like that either. So World Supercross has been, they're pivoting quickly. They're going 90, upsetting apple carts because they're trying to run a business. So I don't understand how Kenny. There was an expression of interest that had to get done for teams. We all were waiting for it. The teams were locked up. Kenny's like, he said it on Pulp. He basically did a promoter deal.
Yeah, right.
He did a promoter deal for the series, but he doesn't know what team he's on. Well, there's teams that have been accepted and denied that weren't allowed to have Kenny. So what team do they put Kenny on?
Well, there is that. They've just announced that genuine Honda team that Uribe's running.
Okay.
So I'd say it'll just be zero conflict. It'll just be Honda'd out. So I don't know for sure, but that would be my guess.
He didn't pay Kenny. He didn't do a deal with Uribe.
Yeah,
he did a deal with the promoter. So
yeah.
he said it. He's like, yeah, the deals. I don't know what team I'm riding for. Kenny would know.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I'm not actually up to that.
Like Kenny signed with the series, not the team.
Yeah.
Like, so that's weird. So it's like the series needs those guys to make the move.
I don't think they do. I think that, and I think this is one of the little side things that I could be completely wrong. I don't think I am.
Oh, I think you're going to say what I'm going to cut you off. Take the words out of your mouth, hopefully. Let's say we get Shane McElrath, Joey Savacci, and then you're going to get Cameron McAdoo and
Cole Seeley.
Cole Seeley. 4 guys, super team. You're going to build a team out of those 4. Dude, you're going to pay them good because you're going to experience the world this first year, this trial series. They're going to come back home and tell their friends and industry friends, I just made...
But that's what's already happening.
But it hasn't even started yet.
Yeah.
So, like, you don't need the top guy.
Because Marvel and OzX Open.
Jason,
so I've had people calling me through this whole deal and being like, this is happening with Feld, this is happening here. Like, people... It actually is, like, rocking people in the industry, right? And the question that people have asked me is like, I'm just worried that like they can't even run an event. And I'm like, what? There was 40,000 fucking people in Marvel Stadium in October of 2019. That is unheard of. That was one of the biggest, like most epic Supercross races I've ever been to. Jason Anderson was there, Justin Brayton was there, Jet Lawrence was there, Joey Savacci was there, Ricky Carmichael was there. Like, they fucking already know.
They took it abroad too. They took it
to New Zealand. They did 2 years of Sydney.
They have the recipe.
Dude, they've already done it. And guess what? There's a reason why Jason Anderson wants to do this series. There's a reason why Cooper Webb wants to do this series. They've already worked with these guys.
Yeah, people don't understand that.
It's out. You watch it on YouTube.
Yeah, they have It's called relationships.
Yeah. People
and they felt they felt wanted and not like they were doing. Right now, and if people don't understand, you have to, as a rider, pay money to go race a Supercross, an entry fee like any other race. Then if you make a night show in the lights class, 40 guys on West Coast or East Coast, you make $400, I think.
Yeah,
$400. So you might get your entry back. But you're a part of the show selling out 75,000 people in the Georgia Dome.
Yeah.
Or 55,000 in Anaheim Stadium.
You don't have to register to nominate to race an NFL bike.
Yeah, and it's like
play an NFL game.
It's a very backwards scenario, and these top riders feel valued, like they feel valued to come as part of the show. Like they are a when you're in Supercross, you are a performer. You're performing a craft for that. Yeah. So yeah,
you're a part of like the 1%. But so I think, so this is a part of, it actually speaks to what you said at the very start of this, is just like that American arrogance in a sense, and fucking God bless America. I love it. All right. This ain't a dig on America. There is that thinking among the industry. I mean, we saw it with fucking like when me and Steve went back and forth even, you know, there was just like a clear, like, we've got this, you know, like we're good. We're in America. We'll go to the races. We've got it. These people that are in this industry at the moment, they think that global Supercross needs big name stars. They don't. They don't need big name stars. They need enough bikes on the track and the dudes doing the thing. Why? Because they're going to go to Jakarta. Do you know how big Eli Tomac's fan base is in Jakarta? Mine's probably bigger. Do you know how big Ken Roxon's?
Yeah.
The exact same. Cole Seeley or Ken Roxon sitting in a Jakarta Honda dealership that sells 300,000 Honda scooters a year.
Repsol
fucking Honda scooters. They don't know the difference, bro. And that's this whole missing thing that I think everyone's missing. They're like watching it from this echo chamber of
so who's
Cooper
the biggest
Webb
KTM importer in the world?
Who?
Indonesian KTM.
Yeah, Indonesia probably. Yeah.
Yep, they sell the most 390 Dukes.
Yep.
They're the largest importer and distributor of all KTM motorcycles, not SXSs, not SX50s, motorcycles.
Yes.
So, yes, you're right.
And you know what statistic backs this up? 40,000 people at Marvel Supercross. More than half of that crowd had never been to a dirt bike event in the world. And this is what everybody is missing. Stop fucking fighting over 3 or 4 fast guys, and this guy can't go here, and then this is so good that you've got a group of people that are willing to invest millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars into Supercross, and then they are going to turn this sport into a global sport. Supercross is not a global sport. Supercross is an American sport that's raced in American stadiums. That's fine if you're American, but the world is not American. And so we're just entering this space now where this sport is taking abroad as an entertainment package. And if you've been to Marvel, like if you're listening to this and you're American and you haven't watched the highlights from Marvel Stadium, just go and watch it. They had the fucking Parkway Drive drummer doing a drum solo after the LCQs. They had Brooke Evers on a DJ platform. They had like fireworks going like it was opening ceremonies all throughout the night. Like, it's just different. And they just don't fucking need to have... The people think that this series lives or dies on Ken Roxon, Jason Anderson, Cooper Webb. It doesn't, man. I just honestly don't think it does. So, like, everyone is trying to get in the way of this thing that you're not going to be able to stop, in my opinion. Hey, we could play this in 2 years and I could look like a complete fucking idiot. But I just don't think that that's the case, man. And I've been to Indonesia. I've like lived in Bali. It is fucking crazy just how pumped people are on motorcycles. When we did the Casey Stoner podcast, the people that listen to that from Indonesia, there's like more people that listen to one episode of Gypsy Tales from Indonesia than I'm sure listen to the biggest podcast in motocross that fucking month. Like, give me all your numbers from one country. Like, this is a completely different thing than I think what people are making it out to be.
And like you said, going back to North America, especially, or I'd say America, let's not lump Canadians into this for the sake of doing it. In what I've learned in my journey, like I said, is I didn't know much about F1. I didn't know much about MotoGP because all you're consumed with is American sport. Yeah. Right? Like the guys that I knew about F1 and MotoGP were the South African dudes that worked in the engine department and the English dudes that, because they're more... They've got like a global palette. That's it. They have a global palette. We don't travel in America. We don't travel abroad. Yeah. Like I've gone to Europe, Spain, Scotland. Yeah, you've done New most Zealand. Of your traveling since you've lived here. Yeah, and it's like, man, like there's so much big and so much happening in America to defend my American culture. You just get sucked in that, down that tube. Yeah. But to your point, is there's so much more global, like MotoGP are the biggest stars in the world, two-wheel stars. You got, you go to it, like we went to Le Mans. We went to back-to-back, dude. We went to Le Mans, and then we went to Barcelona, Formula One. It was fucking absurd, the amount of... Like, Le Mans... Oh, it's ridiculous, bro. Like, there would have been, literally 1 million people go through there over that week of... You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, even like TV and like going to TV, mainstream television, when you're watching the news in Europe and you're watching the news here, they cover global sport. MotoGP's on. Yeah. Right? Surfing's on. Yeah. Because it's global. WSL is global. Yeah. Julian Wilson has 1 million followers nearly because he's a global athlete. Yeah. Not Australia. He's global. Like Ken Roxon's best friend's Julian Wilson. Yeah. Julian Wilson, if you don't know, is one of the greatest surfers that come out of Australia behind Mick Fanning. Right? Yeah, which is hard to do. Right. I mean, and I don't want to... It's hard to be one of the best surfers in Australia, and he is. Yeah. It's like... And we got to witness his first motocross race last week, which is insane. So for our sport to grow globally, we have to have a global sport. And the FIM MXGP, they're ass bad. Like,
yeah, they're cooking it pretty hard.
it's bad.
I got asked the other day if I'd buy that series.
It's bad.
No,
It's bad. I think riders paid $2,000 a round.
Yeah,
It's opposite.
15 riders on a gate.
Yeah, I mean, the Indo track looks sick.
Yeah, I didn't even watch it.
It was actually insane looking.
Really?
It looked really good, but it didn't look good with 12 guys going around the track.
Yeah.
So like, it's in a different.
Yeah, and I think like in an ideal world, so
a global motocross series.
Yeah.
And a global supercross series,
Yeah.
and let Jeff Hurlings and Freddie Noren go at it. like I'm just saying, like, take the best. Alex Martin can race outdoor. Like, get the best motocross guys that stick to their craft, and the best, because it is different.
Yeah.
It is different. It's no different than NASCAR to Formula One, to be honest. Like,
yeah. Well, I think I think the problem, I see it as such a positive thing, except we just don't have enough time to fit it all in. Like, if we had 16 months in a year, then we could definitely do Supercross, AMA Outdoors, and then Global SX, and everyone's happy. But we've got 12 months. So I think that, because if you think about, like, the American series has a lot to gain from this global series. Because you think about, if you start, like Jakarta, perfect example. Like, I think we probably had like 170,000 people from Indonesia listen to the Casey Stoner pod. Like, one country, like, that's the fucking level of like motorcycle mania that's there, because it's their only thing. Like, people's only, like, in a lot of countries in the world, the only way you can survive is with a scooter, with a motorcycle. And like, I spent 2 months in Bali at the start of this year, man, and I fucking love my scooter.
That's
like,
so rad.
But when you start to experience these different cultures, and you can see how deep motorcycling runs through so many other cultures, like, they sell scooter magazines like Racer X. Like, just legit scooter front cover with scooter, you know.
Oh.
So we're not all in the fucking weeds of like listening to Raceables pod. You know what I mean? Like, there's a fan, and that's who we need to touch, because they're the ones.
They're asking for it.
And they're the ones that turn into the people that listen to the Raceables podcast, or people that listen to Pulp MX. You know what I mean? That where you cast the net wider, and then you suck those people in. And it's like you know about online sales. It's like a funnel system.
Yeah, top of funnel.
You can't, like, but it is. There's a funnel. You got a big funnel, and then goes to a little funnel, a little funnel, a little funnel, and a little funnel. And then at each step of the way, there's like a way for people to monetize that
and you
product.
have to see it 15 times before you buy it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you got to see it.
Yep.
If you're not seeing it, you're never going to buy in. Right? And like, yeah, it's
bums on seats in Jakarta, bums on seats in the United Arab Emirates, which is where they're getting funding out of. That's another crazy thing, dude. Like, that United Arab Emirates and the Middle East region, they would outspend on motorsports every other country in the world. Literally one region. We've got no representation of our sport in that part of the world that spends the most money on motorsports. And in one fucking event, or like in one series, you've got the amount of investment that would probably total the entire fucking industry. So it's just like, it's almost like people think it's too good to be true, and they just don't want to, they don't see it.
That goes into the investment, right? And it's a global, I would say global, I can speak for Oz and America. Crew chief, CDR, like, that's the pinnacle of like mechanic, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to speak for anyone, but what are they making?
Fuck all.
150 grand?
Yeah, maybe. I don't
maybe.
know.
The crew chief in America, US, probably making 110 grand. So like, there's people, someone's making money. Who's making, like, I know who's making the money. The tracks and promoters are like, the promoters are making the money. The teams aren't making money. Let's be honest. They're doing it for the passion. Bobby Reagan, he's probably starting to go positive. Mitch makes some money.
Yeah.
You know, Moto Concepts ain't making money. Like, you know, these guys are doing it for the passion. So like,
if you want to make a small fortune in racing, start with a big one.
Yeah. And it's like, what you're seeing is like passion, like these mechanics, even media, like, they're not getting, dude, Jason Wygant is not getting rich, and he's working 85 hours a week, right? And he delivers content for us, and he's doing this because his form of content's hustle.
Yeah.
He works for MX Sports. He works for the media publication, so he's always working always grinding, delivering us content to understand the industry, but it's only to a small pocket of people.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's not going to Jakarta, it's not going to Scotland.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, to micro pockets are understanding it, but Oz is the most close, it's the farthest away, arguably, but the most close to that culture. And because of tech and socials and all that, the globe's gotten closer. But man, like, who would have thought we'd get Kenny Roczen in Australia? How cool is that?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Who's coming with him? There's still guys that are going to come.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
I'm pretty confident to say if the Global Series does what it's supposed to do and gets through the growing pains of the first year, how many years does JA have on his Cali contract?
Yeah, I don't know.
He'll be on he'll be here.
Yeah.
He'll be on the Global Series.
100%.
Like, every time, what we're going to see is what a statement would it have been if a team was smart enough to sign Deegan and Ryder DiFrancesco for the first year, chose to go global.
I was close.
Go to Global Supercross instead of AMA. Boom.
Yeah. So do you know about any of this live golf stuff?
No. So I've heard a little bit about it.
So everything that's happening in motocross with this whole Global Supercross thing, it's literally live golf. And you had Dustin Johnson. Go to Dustin Johnson live golf interview. I don't know if we'll be able to find it, but basically, so Dustin Johnson, if you don't know, he's like fucking Eli Tomac. You know, he's like the world #1. Well, he did a lot of coke, so he's not Eli Tomac. But he's like,
I know of him. Yeah.
He was like the #1 dude in the world. He's like fucking married to Paulina Gretzky. Like, he's the man in golf. And basically, he says, I don't know, go down.
Didn't
all of this, like,
didn't Phil Mickelson go to the live golf?
Yeah.
Yep.
So basically, the Saudis have come in with a bunch of money. Guys are getting $3-4 million guaranteed for 3 days' work, like tournament wise, right? So DJ's gone from playing 38 weekends of golf a year. Hey, does that sound familiar? So you've got these guys that are overworked, they're overtired, they've been on a grind. Like, for anybody, I can speak on this in the tiniest degree. I did 4 or 5 years of going to every single motocross and every single supercross. I watched my first ever Redbud National from the semi. I would have given my fucking left nut as a kid
to be up
there with the fans. By the midway point of the season, when it got to Redbud, I was so fucking over it, and it was so fucking hot that I just didn't watch the races from the thing. I just watched it in the truck. So imagine doing it your entire life. You, Eli Tomac on that Cobra with a TLD helmet and a 43 sticking his leg out after the 10 Commandments at Loretta's. You've been taking racing seriously for that long. And then you get in to this schedule. Like, these guys have been getting fucked for years, man. Like, 17 races of Supercross. Then you have 3 weeks off. And then you do it all again for 12 rounds of outdoors.
But
year on year on year on year on. Fuck,
But
bro.
why can't the OEMs just say no?
Just say, dude, we'll do 12 and 12.
Yep. Why do the promoters dictate the schedule?
Yeah.
Like, why can't the teams actually work together?
Well,
I don't understand. That's where Hammer would always say, like, just say no. And it's because of the old regime, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Like, even golf, like, it's Greg Norman's legacy, and Arnold Palmer, like, that's what we do.
Greg Norman's the dude that's like, he's the live golf commissioner. So basically, this interview, go down a bit, Griff. So he basically just says, oh yeah, maybe go to this one, 351. I've already played that, so play that. Put the sound.
Wasn't there something to do with, like, the way that, like, this country that's putting this on treats women and some weird stuff?
I'm kind of.
I don't know. I just heard a little bit.
So Saudi, is the play? So we're talking about this. Basically, I don't know why our speakers are fucking up, but he basically says, like, why would I want to play 30 events when I could play like 7 or 8? And it's like, I get it, you know? And you can look at it in a way of being like, well, you know, fucking how's the entitlement, doing it for the money, doing it for this, doing it for that. But it's like, in my eyes, I'm like, cool. Dustin Johnson has had a crazy career. And like, same as Eli Tomac, Ken Roxon. Why are we making these dudes just stay in the fucking trenches doing the same? Like Chase Sexton right now, if you said to Chase Sexton that the outdoor series was going to be 28 rounds, he'd be like, fuck it, I'm in. Like that's how bad. That's right. How bad he wants to win that title, right? And if you were Eli Tomac and you're like, Eli, crazy season right now, you and Chase going at it, man. We're gonna make it 28 rounds. It's that fucking good. He'd be like, no, I'm doing 12 and I'm leaving. I'm fucking done.
I'm burnt.
But you get Chase Sexton, he's gonna do it. So I think that we're creating this issue that isn't really there, and I think that this speaks like down the road. So let's say. Feld still does 17 races. They just won't budge on that. But then SX Global goes to 8. And now all of a sudden you're at an impasse. You can't race the the AMA Nationals. You have to choose. So you're now a Supercross rider. So what does that do? Our sport has now changed. We're now a 2-discipline sport, which is what Justin Brayton said on this podcast in 2019. He said they're 2 different sports. And he said, you're going to see it happen. And Justin Brayton is the example of this already happening. He's been a global SX guy for the last 3 or 4 years, and it produced his best result ever in Supercross, right? He's a Supercross only specialist, and he has been for a very, very long time. He's also the oldest race winner in the sport, and that oldest race win came in the middle of him being this Supercross only, Supercross global guy. So the business model just changes, guys. Let's all stop freaking the fuck out and let's just embrace the sport is changing. You are now going to have Supercross only as a sport. But guess what? That means you're also going to have motocross only as a sport. So now we're going to have superstars that only race motocross. We're going to have guys like Jeremy Martin and Alex Martin who just aren't Supercross guys that always get hurt in Supercross. We're going to have so many different storylines that we can follow. It's like we're all so busy fighting change that we're not even opening our minds to what the future could look like. What does a future look like? What's the level of Supercross get to when we have guys that just specialize? You have a guy like Danger Boy that comes out of amateurs and goes, fuck it, I'm a Supercross guy. Well, what if Deegan comes out of amateurs and says, no, I'm a motocross guy? Then all of a sudden you just see the highest level of motocross that's ever fucking gone down because this kid doesn't have to get on a Supercross bike, doesn't have to do this whole program. And then you just see this crazy level in Supercross because you've got these guys that are only riding Supercross, and then you can bench race of like who's actually the best rider, and then you could have these hybrid events which Feld and MX Sports have miraculously partnered on a series for the first time ever.
So that's a thing.
I just saw it on Steve's.
So some takeaway from what you just said is Jason Thomas, who's a part of that whole industry leading group, trackside announcer, regular and pulp.
Needs better tits to do that job, if you ask me.
But he raced Global Supercross.
Yeah.
He just didn't have a series. He was a German champion. He raced all those German stuff.
It prolonged his career.
He made more money in Germany than he did in America, and he's good. Like, he was really good for what he did.
He was German good.
Yeah, he was, dude. He was faster than me in Supercross. Like, that's for sure. He wasn't outdoor guy, but he had to do it to keep a job.
Yeah.
But what you're seeing is like Justin Starling, Global Supercross, right? Because he's doing the German stuff and other stuff in Czech and whatnot, but it doesn't affect the Pro Nationals.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect the Pro MX. As soon as it starts to affect Pro MX,
yeah. But my point is that you've only got to deal with a couple years.
I'm just saying, like those fall fall races are spring and summer here, but those races in Europe pre-Supercross don't affect pro motocross, so it's not a big deal. But this is going to affect it. So now it's a thing. Like, it's already been happening. Like,
and that's what,
like you said, you had Bercy, you had Genoa, you had all, or
dude, Ando was doing 5 off-season races a year. Didn't get hurt at one of them. And that argument before, when you said about like Coop, we don't want you to get hurt. Fuck that argument. Put that in the bin right now. We're fucking done with that argument.
Because I'm just saying.
Let's stop. all that talk for me, because
it's the fuel.
Every single time you get on a dirt bike, you are at risk. Massive risk. Life-ending risk. Let's not get it twisted. That's the part of the fucking game. And guess what? I'm at that same risk as well. So like this whole, I don't want to do it because no, we just can't fucking go there, because then that you could literally use that in every single scenario, every single time you don't want to ride. I don't want to test that part. I don't want to test this. I don't want to do that. Then when do you ride?
But
But
if you can control your environment, if I'm a team manager, I'm going to say if my bike goes to Jakarta and the fuel's compromised, I'm responsible for that rider.
That's, to me, seems like I get it. But
no, I'm just saying, like, if it wasn't in my plan, like if it wasn't in my plan, if it wasn't agreed upon,
Cooper
like
Webb's that specific.
I'm agreeing with the riding, the volume, amount of time they've spent riding on practice days. I'm totally agreeing with volume or the racing's more dangerous. No. I'm just saying, like, if you're like, it wasn't in the plan. If I'm Roger, he reports to pit. I'm
down with that.
Reporting to pit buyer.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, let him do that. Like, we'll keep him happy. Then he freaking has a typical, he crashes in the whoops, which he could have crashed in the whoops in Allen's. In fact, we know that. But now he's like, I knew he shouldn't have gone there, and they have one on you. You're like, son of a gun.
Yeah, you know? And then that's why I'm saying, let's just blanket remove that completely.
Yeah, I agree.
And then in the case of like Coop right now, like I actually concede to your point of, if that's the contract and he signed it and it's not in the deal, then fucking tough shit, Coop, which sucks. But I think that the reasoning, there's a lot more behind the scenes that we didn't talk about. But
there's tension there. There's clear tension.
Oh, yeah, massive.
There's clear tension.
And yeah, it comes full circle
and
back
then if
to
you think of this, and
think
of it like a parent standpoint of, like, or an employer, as soon as you show favoritism to one employee versus the other, well, AP's like, I want to go. No, you can't go, but he can go.
Yeah.
You're instantly compromised.
Yeah.
Like this is a tough decision.
Yeah, we're in a real weird, murky time in the sport.
But I feel, if you want to go all in, if you're confident, if Coop is, which he is one of those confident guys, or if you're AP, if you're AP, let's use AP. His contract's up into the year. He should be on the phone now with Global Supercross. He should be getting shareholders in a dealership, right? Like, I'm sorry, Justin Brayton's the guy. Follow Brayton.
Yeah.
Follow Brayton. He owns a dealership that sells Hondas, sells KTMs. Like, he said, "This, I'm betting on myself." See, that's the difference.
Yeah.
Is some guys.
But then, but it makes sense to bet on yourself as a rider. Look at. Hey,
but some guys won't, dude.
Ricky Carmichael and Factory Honda in 2004. What the fuck could Ricky Carmichael have done more to stay on a Honda in 2005?
Dude, nothing.
Huh?
Like,
so this is why riders don't fucking trust teams. If I was a rider, I don't trust you as far as I can throw you.
Well, you shouldn't. So that's
where this tension
let me give you a how many like PAYG or WT jobs have you ever had? Like, where you go in, go out? Like
a couple,
8 to 5, right?
Yeah.
So I'll share this with you, and this is a personal thing. I spent 15 years at KTM that gave me a position and a platform, dude, to actually be known at being. They taught me, and I got to learn and be good at something at setting up motorcycles.
Yeah.
They could have, every 2 years my contract was up, they could have fired me, or they could have moved on, and we kept renewing, and they took very good care of me and my family. And at the end of my 15 years, my contract was up, and I said, like, hey, we'd love to have you as a new position running the, R&D coordinator. I'm like, okay, what's that entail? You're 8 to 5, treated like you're just like everyone else, no demo bikes. This is what you get. Like, you're just another employee.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? And this is under John Hines, the new CEO, not John Eric Burleson. I'm like, okay. So, like, I can ride a Yamaha. No, you can't ride a Yamaha. Like, but you said I'm the same as everyone else. The Cowie guy, the guy in the warehouse, rides a Cowie. Yeah, but he's not the same. But you just said,
but you said I have to be the same.
But I have to be the same.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I've done all this. I helped build the Orange Brigade. I did this. I developed these bikes with you. And then this is where he got me, dude. He goes, didn't we pay you for that?
Yeah.
I said, son, like in my head, I'm like, he's right.
Yeah.
Like he asked me to do a job. I did my job. Like, so a point.
Yeah.
Like I have no, like John's a good friend of mine. Like,
yeah. But in that same way that like you shouldn't have felt any extra, like you shouldn't have felt any loyalty to Kate.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like
did it.
They did not owe me a job after my contract worked,
Yeah.
but they showed appreciation. They kind of knew that job wasn't right for me at that my season of life. So instead of like clipping me, they're like, he ain't gonna like this job.
Yeah.
Like just he'll make that own decision on himself.
Yeah, yeah.
Which, dude, they could have sent me out with nothing. They hooked me up.
Yeah.
But they let me make the choice.
Yeah.
Right. Teams, it's business. Like you said, there's no loyalty to racers.
Yeah. So when you've got
Sorry to make that about me.
Yeah,
Sorry,
no. It's a good example.
Within motorcycle industry, I was I was no different than a racer, except I was slow and developed bikes for them.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like you cannot expect to have like no one should expect to go like, well, you should have their back. Well, it's like, well, look,
he's got a job to do. He has to watch his P&L. He's like, Sleet, like, didn't you get paid to do that? And didn't you use our equipment to learn that knowledge? Like, he didn't say that, but I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, I'll never forget it because those are good learnings for like my rest of my professional career. Man, like you're right. Like you're absolutely right. You don't owe me this new W-2 PAYG job that has benefits and retirement.
Yeah.
You're doing that because you feel value to the company, but it wasn't right for me. He could have just said, hey, thanks for hooking us up for 15 years. Your 2-year contract's up.
Yeah.
Have a good day. And that's what happens to racers.
Well, I was going to say, that's what happens to racers. And you can be Ricky Carmichael and go 24-0 and you can not have a job the next year. So anyone that is, and again, this is why I'm pro rider. Like I would be pro team if there was all of these accounts of teams that never fired a guy for this or paid someone, and they can't. Like it's not realistic to expect that a team should just like baby a rider. But then again, you can't expect a rider to then have like some magical loyalty.
Yeah. And before we wrap this up, we talked pro rider, and I feel and I brought up Talon Hawkins before, and I feel like earlier that like his dad's pretty, like he's one of us, and he's like, F Sleeter already, listen to this pod. That guy's a kook, my son's fast, my son's this. I feel for Talon Hawkins because he has been given an opportunity to be on a factory team for 3 years now. Factory equipment, 125s, bikes, travel bonus. He's at the Baker's factory, whether they're paying for it or just opportunity, whatever the situation. He's had the pathway that 4 other kids in his era have, like in his age group, Star kids, Red Bull KTM kids, like Daxton Bennick. He's in races nationals this year. If it doesn't happen, if he doesn't produce, dude, he falls off a cliff. There's not even a taper.
Yeah.
Like there's not.
Out.
He's out.
Like you said, Romano.
How do you go from that? Like, how do you go from the Star program and the Rockstar Husky team, Alden's program, to now you and Jesse Masterpool got to get your bikes. Yeah. And do it that way, right? And it's like, I feel for these kids we're in it like the LeBlancs and the Hawkins family and the other ones that are coming through. Like, man, they're with us forever. Yeah. Like they feel like they're part of it. They feel like they're in it because they're so young, and there's no people looking out for them. Yeah. They're just trying out. They're trying out. You're trying out every race. Yeah.
Well, and so that's like one of the things where it's probably a good thing to have like more team seats open up, and then hey, maybe you do just have to be a Supercross only guy or a motocross only guy.
Find your lane.
Yeah, and then hey, maybe now that we need a lot more of these riders, like a Rider D. Like he doesn't have a pro deal signed yet. I'm pretty sure. Like, and why? Not because of lack of talent, not because he's a dick.
No seats.
Not because there's just it's a game of musical chairs and there's nowhere to sit. So it's like, that's actually a problem in our sport right now. Hey, Rider D, go to fucking SX Global, bro. There's seats over there. So again, it's like the very start of this conversation, and I guess we'll button it off with this maybe, but it's like there's a zero-sum mindset, a negative-sum mindset, which means for you to have more pie, you've got to take pie from somebody else that already has pie. Negative sum mindset means there is a fixed pie and you get what you can, right? That's how I see so many people in the industry operating. They've got this zero-sum mindset, and they think that if another series comes along, if another team comes along, then they lose because they're taking from their pie. A positive sum mindset is when everybody is focused on making more pie. That's what we need to see.
From Stark?
From the ground up, man.
Yep. Dude, it starts as simple as one of your best friends, Fist.
Yep.
Fox,
yep.
Alpine Star do not like him because people want to be part of his culture.
Yeah.
Def Family kind of started it, right? And it's like that's a $29.95 glove. It's the same principle as the Varg.
Yeah.
Why do we want the same principle as Global? It's like you said, that's very great. Make the pie bigger when you can offer more support. Let Mike Mason make 10 grand from Deft.
Yeah.
In his day doing freestyle.
And think about it like, all right, so every country has like their GDP. That's like their economy, right? Let's say you've got motocross and supercross GDP. Before SX Global, maybe 40 million. Like, let's say like factory racing, right? 40 million, but like, I don't fucking know. That's a completely random number. But with the SX Global, our supercross and motocross GDP just went up by $50 million. So that is the fucking pie. That the GDP is the pie. So we've just, and it's not like they're going, like they're literally promoters that are like giving money to people.
So I think that's where
we're giving this money. Like everyone gets more money.
So,
this money wasn't here. This wasn't part of the pie, and now we've got more pie, and we're giving it to people.
So I think,
why is this a fucking problem?
I think what it is people. You've seen rich guys going racing. You know, JDR. Right?
But did that hurt?
No, but I think they think it's going to come and go.
Even if it does, who does it hurt?
I think it hurts. What I would say, if it comes and goes, it'll only give the riders the money, but it could hurt in an overlap of like a contract year. It could hurt. It could like say Cooper makes the choice.
But hey, Ryder DiFrancesco is getting hurt right now with the current system.
There's positives and negatives. I think it could hurt. Well, to your point, okay, it could hurt the Pro Motocross series. Well, I don't think it can hurt. I think people are used to things not lasting. Yeah. So like stick to the same. Yeah. There you go.
No, that's true.
I'm just saying, people if there's not a Pro Circuit, Kawasaki has to survive and stay in it and not burn people because they have a good to sell. Yeah. Right? Yamaha has to stay racing because there's a good to sell. Yeah. Right? All OEMs, anyone that's Racer X, Pro Motocross, that organization has a good to sell. They're so intertwined. They have to do a good job at everything that they're doing, or it affects all the goods. Yeah. Right? When you have a rich guy going racing, it's very scary. Yeah. Because a rich guy has no accountability to the industry. Yeah. So he can go. Like JDR, they came, dude, they were going to start an MXGP team. They were going to do this. They're going to do this. And I was in the meeting, and in 2 months later, there was locks on my amateur racing door. Yeah. I'm like, what the
But to play the other side of that, though, my career was JDR.
No, I know.
You know what I mean?
No. I'm just saying, like,
Justin Shanty is the mechanic of Joey Savacci right now. Guess who he was the mechanic of? Joey Savacci, JDR. Yeah. So like you are right. There is like
there's a legacy of MDK, the MDK, rich guy going racing. Like,
hey, he's back in Supercross Global too.
Because it's actual business. No, I'm just saying like the old regime of American motocross is if you're not making any money, if you're not accountable to the sport, you can't be outside and taken serious. I think, let's be honest, Moto Concepts kind of changed that narrative.
Yeah. Like, shout out to Mike Genova.
Mike Genova's weathered the storm.
He must be a good guy.
Dude, he's weathered the storm. He's given Tony Alessi a platform to do his best work, a rejuvenation of life. Yeah. So, I think that's what our industry is so archaic that it's not known to work unless you're actually ingrained. Like if you're not... Yeah.
We fear change.
Yeah, we do.
But so the thing, the final argument, this has been good. But again, I just would say like, okay, look at the track record. 16 they started doing these events. Man, 2016. We're in 2022.
So if I'll give you this, my final piece. Yeah. I'm pro global Supercross. I'm down. If you're a rider and you're listening to this, you better find out what teams have spots and sign. Yeah. It's the future. Pro Motocross, big fan. They've elevated it. It's the best it's ever been. It's on national television. Let's work on growing the pie, not being scared that someone's going to have your pie.
Yeah.
Let's work together. I mean, I think global Supercross is the future for a lot of reasons.
Yeah. Yeah. No, sweet. Well, speaking of motocross, how fucking great. Before we end, we can't leave without talking about how good the racing has been. Eli Tomac, chugga, 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 chugga.
What, 4, 3, 2, 1, right? Overalls, he went fourth, third, 2.
And now he's won every moto since High Point or something like that.
Man. Yeah, and Chase Sexton he's risen to the occasion for all of us fans, right? Like, poor kid dumped it at Colorado. That was a brain fart. But the crash at Millville, dude, he was going for it. The rut was weird. He just tipped over.
Heaps of people crashing that turn, too.
Yeah, it was that Chase Sexton is doing everything right. Like, he's making mistakes. He's making us fans. The 450 class, would you say the 450 class right now, the way they're talking with each other, the way they're racing each other,
dope, dude.
Isn't it dope? Yeah. I'm stoked. You said Savachi, dude, that guy is crushing. Yeah. He's up front, he's falling, he's getting hold, he's fearless to not go backwards.
Yeah, yeah.
He's getting up, starting, fading backwards. If he would have started 6th, we wouldn't even know how he did.
Yeah, yeah.
He's up there. Like, the sport in 450 Pro Motocross is absolutely impeccable.
Did you watch the second moto yesterday, the 450s?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Have you ever seen Tomac, or when was the last time you saw Tomac that cooked after a moto?
Oh, dude, they were
fucking going for it.
Yeah, like he did not want to let that was so pivotal in the series. And I do feel like Chase does have a shot at Washougal. Like, he's smooth enough.
Yeah.
I think he's obviously good at Paula. He just got to stay in it, and I think the team around him, like, how good's Honda right now? Like, the Lawrence brothers, you have Sexton, like, Lars, like, smooth as a freaking cucumber. The guy, like, that whole regime of, look at how the difference is. He took a new guy. He's, fresh eyes, new outlook on things. Like, how never tell you the boys are out front? I'm not.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I was like, wow, that's awesome. But on the promoter, how killing it did Jerry Martin do on the commentary?
Bro, I agree completely.
I thought it was going to be a complete...
Have you spent much time around him, though?
Yeah, he's pretty boring, I thought.
Dude, no, you haven't...
He's pretty smart.
You haven't been around him,
I've only been guarded with Johnny O, on bike rides.
Yeah, no, bro.
Really smart ass kind of thing.
Dude,
like,
he's like Ricky.
Really sharp.
Him and Ricky are the same dude, right?
Dude, he was really insightful. I loved the excitement.
Yeah.
Like, but I also loved Brock Glover and his old, like, but I thought Jeremy was the best yet.
Dude, I completely agree. I thought he was so good, and I've lucky enough, I've actually spent a lot of time around him and Alex. And they're underrated.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
I know
in terms
Alex.
of personality. And as soon as I heard he was on there, I was like, this is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And the local knowledge that they've got about that place. Like, one of the coolest things I ever saw in my motocross life is Jeremy and Alex doing 230s on the Monday after Millville. No water on the track. Nothing.
Just
straight fucking animal style, bro. It was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And I watched them then get on a cycle. We were filming for Red Bull TV for this like European show that Red Bull used to run. And they got then on a cycle bike, and then they cycled the track for like however. Can you imagine cycling that fucking track?
No, man.
They couldn't go up and down everything, but they had like a mountain bike track around it.
Dude. Osho.
Bro, those boys, they're like special dudes, and the family, like they're unreal.
Talk about the good thing of America, producing humans like that.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Like they are amazing humans, and I will say Millville is the best track on the circuit.
I think so too.
Especially the last couple years, adding those big hills.
Yeah, like
just the elevation, the sand, the parity, the ruts, like. It
gives guys options too.
Yeah, I thought like that 450 Pro Moto was one for the books, man. Like you have two different styles accomplishing the same goal, and two different from like the guy was one of his last nationals of the of his career to the new kid in town on a black bike and a red bike. I mean, you don't get the only thing is they both have dope kits and A-stars, right? Like,
yeah.
But that 450 Moto shows the. Dunge, I thought he was aggressive first moto. I'm like, dude, he might have something, but it just shows the level those guys are at.
It's just
to drop. Like Jason, he's had a rough season. I think he'd be willing to hang it out if he'd been in it. If
he was up the front,
early, and he's like, nah, I'm not. I'm gonna get through this series now and not sacrifice. Like those guys are willing.
Yeah. Like Chase, he'd ride if the motocross season had to be 28 races, he'd do all 28 and he'd be there with a fucking smile on. He'd be the first one at the track, he'd be the last one to leave. Like he's just that guy. Did you
see the boys at Verb caught that bump jump of Barsha like on the step up after the catapult?
Nah.
Like check that.
Where's that?
It's on Verb's Insta.
Go to that.
Oh, Team Fried. Sorry, I don't. Yeah, the Fried boys.
How dare you?
I know, man. Yeah, it was the. Old Tom got this shot. It's a bump jump. You saw it. It's after the catapult, and he like manuals and bumps, and like this shows you how rough the track is. It's so gnarly. Like
yeah.
Like he bunny hops, and then broad.
Dude,
and then down, and then leg out with swagger, then downsides.
Oh my god, bro!
Like before
gear change.
Yeah, like everything that's happening right there. Like
there's a lot going on.
Boom, bump.
Disgusting.
Yeah, like it's just something like, and like Barsha's a guy. I think the series has now separated him enough off the back.
Yeah,
that he's not willing. Like,
you're in the dog days now. Like this is just the dudes are in the trenches.
Like they all come out swinging the first 6 motos. Then they have a bad moto and they're like, I gotta get through it.
Yeah.
Like, I get it.
Yeah.
Like I'm. As fans, we're selfish.
Yeah.
Because we know when you can do stuff like that.
Yeah, you've got it. You've got what it takes. Well, I just think it's so... The thing that I took away from that second moto in the 450s was obviously those two guys are 20-something seconds ahead, right? And just the way that Eli could just pull that pace out of his back pocket for 2 laps and just literally bite down on his mouth guard and just... absolutely send it for those last 2 laps. The track's at its roughest, and Chase elevated as well. Like Chase brought it in, he gave it his run, and that to me is, you think about like the one-on-one match racing and stuff. Like that's been, as soon as I've talked about this one-on-one race with people, everyone's like, oh yeah, but one-on-one races are boring. But I'm like, fuck, dude, if you've got 2 guys that are that close and are that good. Like bracket one-on-ones, they very rarely are good until the final because you've gone 1v16, 2v15. But when you've got those 2 guys, and that to me, it's like watching, people say how golf is boring, right? Golf is boring if you haven't watched every single hole. If you haven't watched every single hole of that tournament, and if you haven't had that slow build over 4 days to where now they're on the last green and they're both 140 yards out and they've both got the same club in their hand and they're both hitting into the same green. Like, you've just done all of this. It's the build up that matters, and it's that whole lead up. It's like a crescendo. And the race on the weekend at Millville was that that's why you do a 30-minute race, because you got these 2 guys, they find their way to the front, they push this crazy pace, and then when both of the boys are 150 yards out, hitting into the same green, Eli Tomac just sticks it to 1 foot and putts in for birdie to win,
Yep.
And like that, to me, that was motocross.
So absolutely, and that's why we love it so much, because I use not golf, something different, but maybe just as lame to some people is cycling.
Yeah.
Right? Cycling.
Same shit.
So
the
like
Tour
you're
de France.
Alpe d'Huez.
Yeah.
You're climbing Alpe d'Huez. And this is where golf doesn't have it. You're at 200 beats per minute. You got 30 minutes to go, like same as Moto.
Yeah.
But there's no real skill involved in this.
Yeah.
Right? Like, no, I mean, it's like golf's all skill. Let's say 98% skill, like touch, feel, everything that Justin Barsha just did on that bump jump, right?
Yeah.
But then cycling has the anaerobic threshold of feeling it, understanding how far you can go.
Yeah.
Those guys, that's where like
they got both.
They got
at the
both.
Same time.
And you're trying to break. And Sexton thought he was going to do to Tomac what Tomac
does to everyone else.
What Tomac tried to do to Dunge at Washougal.
Yeah.
And our boy Rick Gilmore told me, he goes, hey, just give me 25 minute mark. Give me that. He's like, why? He's I'm going to break Dunge at 25 minutes. He's like, all right, I'm going to sit out of his roost. And this is Gilmore told me the story. He's like, dude.
That's so
and
sick.
he's like, all right. So they like, we'll give him 25. I'll sit at 95%, 95. And then I'll go 105 and zap him. And I'll break him. And dude, Dunge responded. And it's like Alpe d'Huez, right?
Yeah.
You know, except we know Dunge wasn't on the PEDs probably. But I mean, not that's where I love that. Like when you're just your skills the same. Like you said, that final putt for birdie, and I didn't see the interviews, but I hope Chase. Like I should rewatch it, but I hope he was smiling about the battle.
Yeah, he should have been super proud. There's not many people that can push Eli Tomac to his absolute limit.
Yeah,
like that was everything he
like
had.
you rode, like you might have gave up points the first moto, be upset with that tip over. That's racing, but like to be able to go pound like swing for
blow
swing,
for blow
with Eli, like that's something very special that very few Dunge can say he did it. Who else?
Yeah,
like
not
really,
many people.
like not even Ferrandis, like. Tomac never really, Osborne never really did it because he was in a different season of life.
Yeah.
But like you're seeing Eli at the absolute pinnacle.
Yeah.
And that kid, Chase Sexton, did it. So kudos to Chase. And man, like they're in a league of their own right now going in the dog days. And, and then Jet's the same. Like Hunter had a day though. Hunter just had a day.
Yeah.
Like Hunter's paying pro motocross tax. Like he just can't get he can't get it right. Like he just can't get it. It's just the fork in the road and it's going left. And
where's he at points wise now, Hunter?
Probably pretty far back now, I think. And I mean, shit can happen. Jet lost a motor, you know, but Hunter's just like in the dog days. Like it's like, no, I'd say he's just like, it's trying him and testing him. And if he can keep, I mean, he had the lappers get in his way. But he's showing.
There's something though with Jet though that I think Jet, I hope Hunter doesn't hate me for this. Fucking, yeah. I think Jet just has more speed. And so like those things with the lappers, like when Jet wanted to pass Hunter, he could. And when Hunter wanted to pass Jet, he couldn't. And then there was lappers and that, you know what I mean? So like, I honestly think that Jet just has like a little bit extra. Like he just has the gear. Even there was, I think Kitchen at Moto 2 in Southwick was a good example. Like Levi was right there and everyone's just like, holy fuck, Levi Kitchen's like the next best thing in the world. And then Jet just like keeps it there and then puts the hammer down where he has to.
Jet's race management. Like I think Hunter, I'll use a softer term. I think Hunter leaves it all on the line. You're seeing every bit of the speed. At the end, you're seeing everything. I think Jet.
And that might be because of the positions he started in.
That's exactly right.
It might not just be the speed that he's got, but it just seems like Jet's able to just like make the passes when he wants to and then pull away when he wants to.
He has that 2% to go. Like, oh, Kitchen, I'll let you sit behind me for a while.
And then Shimoda, I think maybe it was this round or maybe it was Southwick, but Shimoda kind of like the gap went from like 6 seconds to 3 seconds, and then you're like, oh my God. Yeah. And then it's at 6 seconds again. And then the dude's fucking jumping into every turn and he's doubling. He's
doing what Carmichael and Stewart did to people. Like, you remember when you'd see them out front when they're lapping?
Like, bolt.
Yeah, and you're watching Shimoda and Hunter behind him, and they're just smashing, looking like they're ripping. Yeah. You're like, how is he not putting 4 seconds to lap on Jet? Like, I mean, it's impressive. Like, I'm actually most impressed with Shimoda this summer.
Same, dude.
Like
MVP.
MVP. Getting in there. I love to see the green bike up front. I'm loving to see the Pro Circuit bike back in the for the parity.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't seen that many Hondas 1-2 ever. Like, let's be honest. But that having the Pro Circuit legacy and Mitch's team back in there, and the story of Joe Shimoda and not having a ride, and like
Joe's massive for the sport too. Like,
Global.
My girlfriend, she's Russian, loves anime. Who's her favorite rider?
Dude.
The only Japanese dude. It just is what it is. She's like, that's her favorite character. She fucking hates it. She refuses to watch it, but she'll be doing her shit, and then she'll be like, "How's Joe doing?" That's the test right there.
And then how's his move? Like whether that was Myrtle, flashing his belly. That was clearly someone marketing move to do that, but it was the
Perfect.
the right move.
Yeah,
that's the move, and he genuinely loves.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm tight with Swap, and I loved it. He goes, "Hey, what's your favorite American curse word?" He's all, "Bitch."
Yeah, that shit was fucking funny, dude.
Like only Swap can get that out of Joe.
Yeah,
and I just love to see like good people like Don like getting him out of the square box thing that are close. Like, dude, just like, because he wants him to have that personality.
Oh, and he does, man. Like, I think he'll slowly grow into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's for me like the MVP of the season. And I think that it was actually really cool. Redbud, when him, Jet, and Hunter were in the battle that they were in, you could literally see Joe learn to ride the track like the Lawrence brothers.
Do you think they push him around? Do you think that he could, like, you know how Jet, like, do you think if Joe really believes that like he's better than them, like, because he's always been in their shadow, Geico.
Here's what I think. This is my new hot take on the Lawrence brothers. So, I was right. All right, I was right from the start. Just for the record. Okay. Back in let's call it 2018 when I started the podcast. But I didn't know how right because honestly, and I'm being a bit of a dick, but honestly, I actually think everyone is years behind. Like legitimately, you're years behind beating the Lawrence brothers. I think that they have spent, and it's interesting because Sexton kind of said something in the podcast about, he said, none of the amateurs have good technique. He said, Danger Boy is kind of the only guy I look at that has good technique, right? So he said that. And what did we see with the combine? And then what are we seeing with the 450 class? Like, Eli has great technique, but he has great body positioning technique, but he rides the motorcycle to the ground, right? So you wouldn't
teach that.
You wouldn't say that's ideal, right? So this is not me saying anything about Eli Tomac as a right. There's fucking ways to skin a cat.
Yeah.
But in terms of if you wanted to just build, like, let's say a motocross character where you go handling or like bike skill, throttle control, engine management, you just maxed everything out to 100. Like Tomac's probably at 20 on the fucking engine management, but you can still win with that. But I think that what you're seeing with the Lawrence brothers and Darren in particular is such a gnarly commitment to technique and such a gnarly commitment to lines and such a gnarly commitment to bike setup. And then you're getting to do that with two people, right? And two really good people.
And different.
Like super different personalities. So if this is not shade at the Alessis, but you look at like Jeff and Mike Alessi, in terms of like complete humans, there was a lot lacking at the age that when they were like in their peak. So you don't have the same thing where like, and I'm not just trying to be a dick, like I'm trying to just be like fully objective. Like
you got a laser, dude. You're shining out their eyes.
I was there. Like I saw it.
So yeah, and the Alessis, Tony only knew what he knew.
Yeah.
Those kids were riding 450s when they were 40 kilos. like because it was like make money.
Yeah.
So like their bad technique because they were managing 61 horsepower Varner 450s.
Yeah.
Right? Like Dazzy would never do that.
No.
Like
yeah.
Never,
no, you're so right.
Never compromise.
Yeah, there was like, this is like the best thing that we could do. And it's even they go to Europe and they do their thing in Europe. And the thing, I sent a message to Hunter. I can't remember what. Maybe it was after High Point because that was craziness, dude. Like the way those two rode and the way they played with the track and the way they gapped the fit. Like that was brilliant. And for Jet, like good on you. That's fucking sick. But for Hunter, the level of adversity that he's had to overcome. And I can relate from a big brother sense because I can see ways in Matty's life where he had his life so much easier because of like the mistakes that I made in my own life.
Journey, yeah.
And and he'll tell you, you know, like he sat back and watched me go through my early 20s and like just fucking up constantly, and he watched and he learned. And Hunter's version of that is injuries and going on some shit teams. Hunter took the fucking hit on a bunch of different they're subtle. It's not like these crazy differences that you'd think would add up, but again, you're talking years of your life, and there's all these little challenges and all these little injuries and these adversities that you got to go through, and you're the first one on this shit team, and he was on a shit team when Jet was just on an 80, and that really didn't matter, but it did matter to Hunter, you know, like it did matter to his results. So I think that what Hunter did and what Hunter's doing this season is just like, dude, I want to give the dude a hug and be like, bro, you fucking deserve this. You deserve this so much because of all the shit that you've been through. And so I just think that what we're seeing now is like the tip of the spear of years of work. And I think that they're fucked, everyone else. Like, honestly, because I don't see anyone, maybe Hayden, but I don't see anyone. I look at Ryder D, and I don't see Chase Sexton. I don't see Jet Lawrence.
Dude, you're right.
So I look at Joe Shimoda, and I don't see Jet Lawrence. He's probably the next best when it comes to looking. I see Levi Kitchen. I see a stylish motherfucker, like dope as fuck. But I don't see Jet Lawrence, and I don't see Chase Sexton. I don't see Ken Roxon. So I'm just looking, and I know as a rider, in my level that I'm at, how hard it is to change. And I know that, you know, you're in this program at Star, or you're in Prosa, and you don't really have a chance to do the work that these guys have done. And honestly, dude, I just think everyone's fucked that isn't a Lawrence brother for a while, man. I really, and I think that Brian looks at Dazza and the Lawrences as like, that's the only. Like, I think that's like the new standard. He said it. Oh, he has? He
said it in one of their podcasts. Mason, my son, watches it. He's like, look at the Lawrences. I'm watching things change. And he brought up like the Lawrences. Yeah. Brian watches because he knows it's evolve or die.
And he just wants the best for his kid. Yeah. Like, genuinely wants the best.
I don't disagree with you.
Like, who do you see winning? Jet's going on 450 outdoors next year. So Hunter will be the only Lawrence brother on a lights bike.
Yep.
Who beats him? For the championship?
The only one that I see today that could even give him a run on a day is Joe. Shimoda. But going back to like, I think the Lawrences, what they have as a family, there's one word: trust. Right? Like, they trust in mom and dad, and I'm not saying in a bad way.
Yep.
That they have what the best. They trust in Lucas, the people around him.
Yeah.
Osho, Myrtle, mom and dad, that they are doing what's right for them. Okay, and Dazzy is leading the charge from what I understand.
Yeah.
Even bikes it up.
Yeah.
And I go back to like RJ Hampshire. Have you seen his bars?
Yeah.
They're down, like, you can only go so fast with that bike set up.
100%, bro.
Like I don't know Darren Lawrence, but from meeting him a few times, and what a remarkable human. I guarantee you, if Jet was like, I want to try 999s and put him down on my lap,
the answer will be no.
Yes, because your elbows, like, there's a reason for the madness, right? There's a reason.
And if you're a real G, you know that.
Yeah, and it's like you have to evolve or die. You have to. There actually is a standard, and he was just ironically, I got to spend a little bit of time with him, and another amazing dad is Chase's dad.
Yeah.
He's just like Dazzy. They're very similar. He's their practicing bike mechanic. He's all about technique.
Yeah.
And like, look at not about winning titles. Like, how many titles has Chase won at Loretta's? 4, 3?
Yeah.
2?
Yeah.
Not like, look at Jet Reynolds.
Yeah.
The winningest rider D. Like, Jet Reynolds is not, his trajectory is not going the right way.
Yeah.
All these, Loretta's is becoming a novelty race.
Yeah.
It's becoming a very amazing race to share times with your family, like amazing summer adventure.
But it's not the need.
It's not the need anymore.
No.
It's not.
No.
It's not. When you have when they're, from what I understand, is Pro Moto or the MX Sports Groups acknowledges that, and they're changing the narrative with the combine.
Yeah.
Like they're knowing they got to pivot, which is so smart, and bring up a recipe. And honestly, that's because of Jet going on blast. I think it was with you, or someone. No, it was with Pulp or someone talking about how crap the amateur nationals were.
Yeah.
They took feedback and they pivoted.
Yeah.
And now there's an actual race to highlight guys, and like, what a better way. Like, what I haven't seen Hayden Deegan race a pro national track, or seen him race against.
Compare his lap times and shit.
Dude, he waxed he's a B rider. He's a B rider and waxed Talon Hawkins, Daxton Bennick. They're all A riders. They're supposed to go to the factory teams. Talon just raced the national.
Yeah.
This weekend. I don't know if he scored points or not.
Yeah, I don't even know what it is.
But he's like a young, to put it in perspective, his number was 339 this weekend.
Yeah.
His family and them, they're very unique in the fact that, like, the kid always had the best stuff. Like, dad's a hard worker.
Yeah.
But he idolized the Jason Lawrence.
Yeah.
And they idolized the Jason Andersons and the Hilton, the Josh Grants.
Okay, so I like him.
I like him.
Yeah.
The family, they're rad. But that's not the recipe that you can use to get to the top of Pro Motocross.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Like, we go back to our early pods about Bierman and Hodges. Like, you can't.
Yeah, you can't do both.
You can't do both.
Yeah. And you're right. Like, Sexton's the other dude. And what are we seeing? We're seeing Sexton put it to Eli. That's one of the best ever.
And look at Tomac's recipe. Dad, technique, training. Like,
but see, and yes, you're right. But the technique's evolved.
100%.
You know, so that was the guy. He rose to the top by doing that program, and I'm sure that Dazzy took a lot of inspiration.
Everts, Tomac.
Yeah, and so the other thing too, and this was what I can't remember whether I said it to Deegan on the podcast or if it was when we were off the podcast, but he's basically was like, all right, so what would be like the main thing that you would do for Hayden if you were me? And I said, turn him into a really good fucking dude. That's going to be the thing that gets you through your life, or him through his life, that will help him more than any fucking team advice, any bike advice, any technique advice, because you need to be, it's a very complex,
dude.
You're in a very complex situation when, like, look at what we just spent an hour talking about of, like, are you a contractor? Are you in, you need to be a fucking great person, and those are the people, like, that's how you have a good career, and you make smart moves, and you do things without ego, and you do things as a group. And, like, dude, Dazzy, fucking straight up dude. Like, as good as it gets, right?
Look where you come from, though.
Yeah. And Hunter, man, Hunter is a guy, there's not that many motocross, right? Like, if Hunter didn't race motocross, I would be his friend in the exact same way. He's just one of those really rare, cool people. He's into cool music. He's into cool sports.
He's got culture.
He's traveled all over the world. Like, that's a guy that I want to sit down and, like, I'll just hang with him.
I want my son to be like him.
Yeah, there's no age gap with me and him, even though he's so much younger. So it's like, that is the ace in the hole. And from when I was over there were so many kids that, dude, like, there were JDR bikes that got sent back just fucking trash and full of mud because the team closed the doors.
MTF.
The team closed the doors, and then the bikes had to go back. Well, fuck you, man. Fuck, bikes go back. Like, the amount of shit that you would see from these guys that they spend their whole life homeschooled. They're just the fucking king of Pooh Castle by, like, being the kid that's won Loretta's since he was fucking 10 years old. He's getting his dick sucked when he's 10 because he's literally because he's the fastest guy.
The industry creates it. The industry creates it. Look at Chase and Zach Bell. How many titles did they win at Loretta's, and how much money did they make? And what did he do at a pro motocross level?
Yeah, nothing. Yeah.
I mean, the list is but we create in North America, you create this fake expectation. The parents don't create it. Let's get straight.
Some of them do.
Some of them do, but the industry gives them the platform to be arrogant. The industry gives them the the opportunity to think they're better than others, right? Like there shouldn't be factory riders on 85s.
Yeah.
Like there should be supported riders.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be factory riders in the B class.
Yeah.
Like let's let the stars shine through.
Yeah.
Let's see who on a level playing field, because Ryan Morris was one of the same guys, dude. He had Chaparral factory Bud Light Yamahas, right? He had equipment that was better. When he got leveled down,
it cooks you, bro, mentally. Like there's guys that are like the best dudes in the sport, and like you could even talk about Dunge in this sense. Like he's one of the nicest people of all time, man. He's
Zach Osborne.
Yeah. Well, Zach, I don't know
Justin
about.
Brayton.
Well, like I guess the thing with Dunge though, like so he didn't know what to do after racing. So like the industry didn't prepare him. So he's like one of the nicest guys that outside of motocross was just like so good, so humble, so switch on. And even he was like jacked by the industry in a sense where like there was no development past like just being
like
a racing,
like NFL or NBA does.
Yeah,
absolutely. Like you look at an NBA commentator or NFL commentator that goes after racing, like for most they're educated. They went through college.
Through college.
They had the advisor. They had leadership courses. Moto is, we are going back. I hate to say it. We just did 4 hours, but we're going back to what we ask 45 weeks a year of these guys.
Yeah.
There's no development.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't be a person.
You can't be. You have to perform. And I tell people here, if you want to come race your motorcycle, come to Oz.
Yeah.
You race, 4 Supercrosses, 8 outdoors. You travel a beautiful coast. You can go to the beach afterwards. You make it $150 grand because there's gonna be 0.001%
that make over that.
That make over that to where they can actually retire. Dunge, Villa, Poto.
Yeah.
Right. Look at Weimer. He's working.
Yeah.
Like he made enough to like get himself set up.
But he still has to have a job.
Tickle still has to work.
Yeah.
So you all like go to where like don't like Justin Starling. I'm a big fan of that kid. He's doing it his way, right? He's going to Germany racing, doing his own program out of a sprinter, so he can control his own destiny. Because he's like, I'm gonna have to work it someday anyways. Why sell my soul to a team for free for a ride?
Yeah. When I could just do this now.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Like that, I love that. Like. Sense of ownership. Like, I'd rather just do my own thing, and like that's that ownership part.
Yeah, and I think so. Like, I guess to circle back to my point is that
the Lawrences are taking over the world.
Well, and I think that they've put all these pieces in. They've got the good human part right. They've got the humility part right. They've got the team relationship part right. There's all this stuff that they're doing that's like these kind of 1%ers that I think have just added up to just everyone being fucked for like a really long time.
And I can't wait to have the next podcast about where does Hunter go? Is Honda able to hold on to him?
Yeah, I think they're crazy to let him go.
No, I'm just saying, what if he performs so well that another Red Bull program, Gas Troy Lee or Red Bull KTM throws him a lot of money to beat that Jet kid? Like I'm just because that becomes business.
Yeah. Well, I think though with
I'm just like
I wonder,
I'm just wondering.
If
you look at timing of guys,
Yeah.
Are they gonna run 3 450s?
Yeah, probably not.
I don't know. I think Lars would want to. Like you said, it'd be stupid for Honda not to.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to business and that contract of what does Hunter go global Supercross?
Yeah.
Like,
does Jet just go Supercross only?
Yeah. Like, I mean, Jet's
he's going to become, like, think about Jet's career. So he'll be 250 Supercross next year, and then 450 outdoors next year, and then 450 Supercross the year after. Like, let's say Jet just goes and wins that outdoor title, goes, done that. I'll just do Supercross now for the rest of the year. I'll focus on my businesses. I'll focus on my donut shops. I'll focus on, like, make a career. And then it's like, I mean, you could say that's a bad thing, but again, it's just like, is it though? Because there's always going to be another kid.
Because fans were selfish.
Yeah.
And we're like, you can still do it. So, like, that's what's rad about Dunge is he's doing it because he wants to do it.
Yeah.
And, like, I think we're getting the best version of Dunge, like, as far as a person and personality and being happy, like happy. It's not only to be happy getting 7s and 8s and 6s when your legacy is what it was, but I think he's rewriting the narrative of how he's leaving as a person instead of the oatmeal, no raisin, no sugar.
Yeah.
He's got some brown sugar on that oatmeal now, and he's like fun to be around. And not that, I mean, I'm a big advocate of Ryan Dungey, but he was so business oriented to reach his goals that he's like, what did I do all that for? I didn't even soak it up.
Yeah, I didn't savor the moment.
So yeah, man, this is some exciting times and pivotal times in our sport. Electric, that Lawrence's.
Danger Boy. What do you think? What do you make of the combine? Last topic before we go. Danger Boy.
I've been on that train, dude.
Yeah. Well, hey, you can say it. You were right about Danger Boy. If I could say I was right about Lawrence, you were right about Danger Boy.
I've been on the train. I'm a Brian Deegan fan. I love like his hustle. People that hate on them are ones that are not willing to hustle. They don't have the work ethic. Like the amount, I don't know how they can sustain. I don't know how Brian can look as good and lean as he is, and take care of his body as well he does. The amount of travel, the amount of stress, like. Just because you have more money, you have more opportunity, doesn't make things easier because of the level of expectation. So I think what the Deegans are doing and what Hayden is doing is something special that we're been on the journey. My sons that are 9 and 11 are to watch his journey 3 days a week on YouTube or whatever their thing is. And I'm able to, now that I'm a world away, follow it also and feel part of it.
Yeah.
Whether it's real or
fake. You're seeing it from a different angle now.
And I'm like, this is so cool that I can still follow the journey and see him hit these tracks. And like, he's bringing, different than Jet, I think, is he's bringing an audience to our sport. Like he's bringing an audience to our sport where usually our sport built audiences.
Yep.
Like I would safe to say that we are helping, the industry's built Jet's audience.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
But
they've built their own.
They've built their own. Now they're injecting it into the sport globally.
Yeah.
Which is something that's...
Yeah, you talk about like that pie. Like when they go from amateurs to pro, the pie just got bigger.
Like if he's not in opening ceremonies, it could be a disservice for the... Like,
could you imagine?
No, but seriously,
yeah,
right?
No, that's a great point.
Like if Hayden Deegan isn't allowed in opening ceremonies, there could be people coming... from the
You're
YouTube
like, why
world,
am I here?
Why am I here if this kid's are they going to change the number rule? Like I'm just like, there's certain things to allow the sport to grow that actually has to think about.
Yeah.
Like Hayden Deegan, the volume he's putting in is just the same as any other top. He's not faking it.
Nah, dude.
Like they're prepping. He's taking the Alessi method, racing the tracks. Everyone used to make fun of the Alessis for racing all the tracks to prepare.
That worked.
Tony had that right.
Yeah.
Right? Brian sees that. Then he's like, all right, what he does right, he's not all in with one trainer. He's not all in with one program. He's like, Swanee, you do this great, but we're not just going to be with you. Hey, Rhino, coach him here a little bit.
Yeah.
Hey, come here. Like that's that balance of and being comfortable with feedback.
It's just humility, bro.
Yeah.
It's like Brian, I don't talk to like Hayden, so it's not like my relation. Like we're not talking,
because he's a kid.
Yeah, he's a young guy. But I talk to Brian, and the level of humility that he's got is, I think again that comes back to like Dazza, you know, like Dazza just has this crazy level of humility, which he kind of should, because he's fucking Darren Lawrence. Before his kid won a motocross championship, he was just you know what I mean? Like he wasn't this proven. He wasn't anybody. Whereas like Brian Deegan is Brian Deegan. He never had to do anything else in his life. He didn't have to achieve one more thing. We could have never known who his kids are, and he's still Brian Deegan.
Absolutely.
So to have the level of humility that he's got around his kid's career, and you know, even things that he's asked me, like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And I'm like, dude,
he generally wants to know.
I'll give you my advice. Like, I'm sitting here going, don't think I'm right about this, but this is what I personally believe.
Because he knows that he's so sucked into his world. Like he's so in his world, all he sees is blinders.
Yeah, you can't be across everything.
So he reaches out to people in different spaces to make sure, get some feedback, dissects it.
And whether he thinks I'm right or wrong.
But he's getting some feedback.
It's a little bit of something. And that takes humility for you to go to someone and say, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
What do you think? And it be an off the wall kind of deal, and you know.
I think the combine showed it would have been cool to see DeFrancesco and Hayden like race each other, because we've been wanting that to happen for a while. There's an age gap that's been separating. We're gonna see it.
So Hayden's younger.
Yeah.
Okay. That's scary.
Yeah, and I think Ryder D, 2 years ago I'd have been like, maybe like overhyped, because he was that blonde haired kid. You know, you watched his journey.
Kid,
that Cali kid, but
he was in all the videos.
Yep.
And he was.
Yep. And his parents did a good job marketing him. But the Deegans came in over the top of them, better marketing, more exposure, kind of took the limelight away from it. I think the kids actually used it to fuel him. You know, like he's a good kid, super respectful.
He's a real nice kid.
Yeah.
Actually, we did a podcast after his last 85 race or super mini race, but it was the first time it was like, I think the first podcast I did, the thing I fucked the audio up, so we never put it out. But I spoke to him for like an hour and a half. He's a fucking super nice kid. He's
a great, well-mannered, good, well-spoken kid, and he's legit. But going back to Deegan, wrap up on him, like, I just can't wait to follow the journey, like with all the other YouTube subscribers. Like,
I think the jury's out now on like if he's good.
Yeah.
He's fucking so good.
Yeah, like when you have Sexton and Christian Craig and all these other guys endorsing his skill on a bike and his work ethic, the only thing you said is that being that good human and how hard it would be as a dad, like just taking from a dad and a mom, like the things that kids seeing and being exposed to, like at a young age, how can that not, like, how do you coach that? Like him signing boobs at 16, like that's not normal. Like
yeah.
And that's what
that's
success.
The project. I completely agree.
If anyone could handle, it's Brian and Marisa.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. They've seen more of all that than any other moto parent there is.
100%.
So if there's anyone that can handle it, it's them.
Yeah.
And I as a parent, I would love to pick their brain after they succeed.
Yeah.
Like, because success, what is their success? I think Brian's success is to see his kids succeed. It's not actual physical champion or a race win. It's like whatever their limit and goal
you
is.
wanted to reach their potential.
I really feel that Brian doesn't have a potential, like where Tony had, Tony Alessi had, I want to change the record books. I'm going to change like
ego.
He had his ego at that time.
So here, this is like that in a nutshell is like, there's some form of Tony Alessi's, and again, I'm not trying to be, this is just objectively I'm this objective about myself. So I'm this nasty to myself when I think about my own ego. But there's a percentage of his self-worth that was tied up in his kids being the best ever, winning these, like, that's where there's poison in the water, in a sense, you know. And I think that with and I mean, you can see it with guys, and like you hear it a lot with dads, where like it's a very old story of where the dad, it's as much about the dad having the famous kid and the fast kid as it is about the kid doing his thing, you know. And I think that's where Dazzy again is a really great example, but he isn't Brian Deegan. Like, he didn't come, he's just a dude from the Gold Coast, from the sunny coast, you know. But yeah, so I think that there's a percentage of the self-worth on Tony's end that is guiding decisions. You can't, there's no objective, well, maybe if if nobody knew my name ever, like as Tony Alessi, that would be the best thing for my kid. Then he didn't do that. He did the thing where everyone knew who he was, and you know, so you've got to be really objective, and you've got to be really careful, like, okay, am I doing this for myself? What part of this is for him and what part of this is for me? And I think that when you got Brian, I think their kind of ace up their sleeve is the fact that, like you said, he's been there and he's done it all. So you're not really going to have that same sense of validation, because I personally think, and it's one of the things I find the most interesting in people in general, is when you can be famous or really well known and your self-worth isn't tied into it. Like that's the rarest kind of like, I just think that's peak level, because you've been exposed to something that so many people have never been exposed to, right? So like you've never been exposed to what Brian Deegan has been exposed to. You've never had the pussy thrown at you that he has. You've never had the parties. There's so many experiences in your life that you've never had, right? And those kinds of experiences changed your it's like you're in like this feedback loop with the world. So you get this given this feedback, and then that feedback then dictates the decisions that you then make, and then you get more feedback on it. So you can get stuck in like this kind of like ego loop, you know? And I'm sure there was a point in Brian's life where that's like how it was. He was the fucking man. He was Brian Deegan. He was playing a character, but then he was sort of also like had trouble separating the character, you know? Like that's what you see with like Conor McGregor, and you see with these guys that turn into these, they have like these crazy personalities around, you know? So when you see a guy that goes through that and then they come out on the other side and they're just like super fucking humble, super, you know, down to earth, that to me, I'm like, you've just passed the ultimate test in life. And that's what I think that Brian's got, that is going to be like a little bit of a secret weapon.
Yeah, you'll agree with this, I think. A parent, if you see a parent or a girlfriend, there's a rule, I think the girlfriend's a bit much, but a parent or an agent or a girlfriend, the first one to the podium, make sure they're in the camera. There's an ego.
Yeah. Oh, dude, for sure.
Tony was always there in the podium, always there he was always in the camera.
Yeah.
I've never seen Dazzy really on TV.
No.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
John Tomac, do you see him?
No.
Like, there's other parents that find their way into that camera.
Yeah.
After the race.
And girlfriends especially, bro.
Yeah.
So many times where it's like, really, do we need you there?
But like you see
do we need you at track walk? You need to be walking the track.
There's an anomaly.
What do you got? What are you going to tell him?
There's an anomaly though, and that's why I said and I love her to pieces because she's amazing. Human Mathilde Muscan.
Yeah.
She's always there.
That's a legit partnership.
That's a legit partnership. So like, I just want to say there's anomalies.
Yeah,
Mathilde is one of them. Fernandez's wife, because they've traveled. They've been in it.
Yeah.
Right. But like, I look at Dazzy, like we've talked about him. I've met him a handful of times and have the utmost respect for just his journey. But I've never seen him after a race.
Yeah.
I've never seen him popping bottles. I've never seen him trying to get his fix, his limelight to show his friends on the Sunday Coast that he's made it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that's something that if you start seeing the parent try to get in there, like as a parent, lose like you win and win like you lose. Your son or your daughter, if they get third and they ride their best race they've ever had, and you're not stoked, if you can't recognize their best effort, then they are going to hit the gutter. Because if you only get pumped when they win, it's bad.
Yeah, it's a long road.
It's a long road. You got to celebrate those dead last, that Indo and the whoops, gets back up, leaves it all on the track and gets 8th.
Yeah.
You got to
gets 9th, but his last lap's his fastest.
Because they're not comfortable. Those parents, like not the Deegans, right? They want those free boxes to show up. They get that ego from ordering 25 pairs of goggles. They get those.
Bro, you have no idea how real that is. I've literally last week dealt with some shit.
Yeah,
like
it's like the parent. Like for me, my son, he's gonna get what he gets, whether he's dead last in the C grade class or if he's the second place guy in Australia. His dad still has the connections and the relationships. It's not gonna better his life.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
like
totally.
Like he's gonna wear the gear that he wants to wear. He might not have 50 pairs of it. He might have 2 in case it's muddy. But he's gonna get what he needs because dad has the connection. So I don't need like Brian.
Yeah, you're not in it for you.
I'm not in it for him. For me, I don't care. I mean, that's where these parents get wrapped up, and I think it's a slippery slope with this industry giving so much, and there's a cliff. That's why there's dependency problems. That's why there's suicidal problems, because there's so much they put.
There's like fallout when it doesn't go right.
Yeah, it's you're it's that one song, back then you didn't want me, now I'm hot, you're all up on me.
Yeah.
And then you're not hot and you're off.
It's the other way.
Then it's the other way around, and I actually tell people from my journey, I was really stoked I wasn't that good.
Yeah.
Because it'd be hard, man. It'd be hard to be the man and then not the man.
And then you're not.
Dude, it would be, I was just never the man, so it was easy. Like, it was just easy. Like, so yeah, it's the Lawrences, I think, have a balance. And I think the people around him, they respect their parents. And I think Hayden respects his dad. I think Hayden can, from what I see, can look at his dad's eyes and be like, I fucked up.
Yeah, so I think,
if Brian listens to this, I want him to comment below what diet and what workout he's on, because that dude is looking.
TRT.
Dude, he's looking.
He's on the diet that people that you have more money than you are
dude.
on. Nah, he probably does like testosterone shit, I'd reckon. He's I haven't asked him that. I wouldn't be mad at it because,
hey, dude, if I could afford it, he looks good.
You go. This is what Brian Deegan would be doing. Again, I don't know this. Brian Deegan would be going to a really sick doctor. They'd be taking some blood, and then they'd be like, your levels of this, your levels of this, your levels of this, your levels of this, your levels of this. And then there's like one's here, and then they're going like, righto, take this, take this, take this, take this, and Brian would be going, fucking let's go.
Top gun.
And then he'd be running, and he'd be training, and he'd be doing all this shit.
He looks, dude, there was a video I saw of like...
he's fucking jacked. He's fitter than me.
He looks, on the 450, I thought Hayden, one of their thumbs, I thought it was Hayden on the 450, because obviously the same number, because he's so tiny. And I'm like, dude, like he's just shred. He's probably a $155.
Yeah, he's fucking ripped.
Anyways,
he's a G. All right, well, thanks so much for coming and doing this. Fuck, we went deep, bro.
Yeah, man.
We had some shit to cover.
Yeah.
You're my favorite guy to bench race with.
And we need to do it more, man.
Yeah, we do. You've been busy. That's fine.
Yeah.
You've had shit on. You got kids, a pregnant wife, running a fucking MXStore.
It's been rad. Well, thanks for making time for me. It's been real.
No, it's been awesome. Cheers, bro.
Dude.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.